in the middle of the lineup is fat with power. Jeff, Green, and Karros look to make the Blue Crew think of a happier place. Vintage 1988. Back in '89, La Russa took the A's to the big show. Today, his Cards have the muscle to make Tony a happy fellow once again. A decade-long dry spell may be over for both of these clubs, but don't order the champagne just yet. Dodger Blue and the red-hot Cards next on FX Baseball Saturday night. Busch Stadium in St. Louis, where many a great team has called home. Maybe none better than the current version. And today from Busch, another good team invades. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Two powerhouses. You want stars? We got stars. The Dodgers and the Cardinals tonight on FX Baseball Saturday night. And welcome back to the ballpark. Matt Vasgersian along with Jeff Torborg. A lot of star power on hand here tonight, Jeff, as the Dodgers visit the St. Louis Cardinals. And starting with the Los Angeles Dodgers, a reworked offense, certainly powerful in the middle of the pack.
They really are. In the middle of their order, when you have a Gary Sheffield as one of the quickest bats to the strike zone in baseball, right-handed, add that to Sean Green, who brings the left-handed balance to the lineup. And what they've gotten off to good starts, and it's made this ball club look terrific. Last night, Sean Green had his best night as a Dodger. He had 2 doubles and drove in 4 runs. This guy brings so much to this ball club. He's really grace personified. I mean, he's got power. He can steal a base. He's a good outfielder. He does it all, and he's really been a great addition to the character of the Dodger team.
Speaking of great additions to already very good teams, when was the last time we opened a game involving the St. Louis Cardinals and didn't talk right away about Mark McGwire? That's because the new guy that everybody's talking about here in St. Louis is Jim Edmonds. He's second in all of Major League Baseball in hitting, and he is off to a great start.
Well, this guy adds so much to the lineup. He brings gold gloves with him. He can run, but the power that he's shown already to go along with McGwire and the rest of this lineup, and he does it with ease. He hits them all over the ballpark with this real short stroke. He has meant so much to this club in the beginning. I'm into their order.
They love him here in St. Louis. Signed him up to a 6-year extension yesterday. They've made a real commitment to Jim Edmonds. We're making a commitment to you tonight. The Los Angeles Dodgers visit the St. Louis Cardinals. Big Mac in his attack. He's creeping up in that all-time home run list. We'll take a look at where he stacks after this. Back to Busch Stadium in St. Louis, waiting for the Dodgers and the Cardinals to tee it up on this Saturday night. And when you talk about St. Louis Cardinal baseball for the past couple of seasons, certainly the conversation doesn't get too far before you talk about Mark McGwire. He hit career home run number 534 Monday. That ties him for 9th place all time with Jimmy Foxx, and this is starting to get really fun.
Wow, what a list when you think about it. The great Jimmy Foxx, 12 times, 30-plus home run seasons. I mean, what a list this is. He's only 2 away from tying Mickey Mantle. He could do that tonight. Next after Mantle is Mike Schmidt. He only needs 14 to tie, and all Schmidt did was lead the National League a record 8 times. Reggie Jackson beyond that, Harmon Killebrew. Wow, this is a nice fraternity.
Yeah, these are the guys that Big Mac might find himself in front of at some point this year. And if you're curious, the top of the list, Aaron, Ruth, Mays, and Robbie. Well, McGwire might get there someday as well, but that might take a little bit longer. Now, the offense du jour here around in St. Louis is no longer the speedy white rat type baseball. No longer does this team run as it used to. 74 home runs for the Cardinals already this year. They have already out-homered their 1982 World Championship team.
Well, it is an entire different philosophy. First of all, you don't have an artificial turf field. You got grass. The fences are in. But who knows? As a ball juice, they're stronger. They're hitting the ball out of the ballpark in this whole lineup. And when they get Tatis back, is a power-laden lineup.
Great supporting cast for Big Mac. That's the way he prefers it. Couple of good casts on tap here tonight. The Los Angeles Dodgers, led by Gary Sheffield. They take on the St. Louis Cardinals. You know who leads this bunch. Baseball next. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. It opened 34 years ago yesterday. Welcome back to it. Matt Vasgersian back with Jeff Torborg. The Dodgers and the Cardinals set to mix on this Saturday night here on FX. And let's check the starting lineup for Davey Johnson's Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodgers lead things off with F.P. Santangelo, the extraordinary utility man in center field, to lead it off. Mark Grudzielanek at second, bats number 2. A couple of former Expos atop the lineup card. Sean Green bats third. He's been on fire over his last 4 games, including beating up on the big unit a couple of days ago. Left fielder Gary Sheffield bats in the cleanup spot. First baseman Eric Karros hits number 5. Batting 6th, it's the third baseman Adrian Beltre. Catcher Chad Kruder gets the start, batting in the 7th spot. Jose Vizcaíno's at shortstop, batting number 8, the third of 3 switch hitters in the lineup for Davy Johnson. And on the mound and batting number 9, right-hander Chano Park. These Dodgers will take their swings tonight against outstanding young left-hander Rick Ankiel.
When you look at Ankiel, 20 years old, 6'1", 210, big, strong kid. He's got a real live fastball, great late explosion. He's working on all his other breaking pitches. His curveball is just a little too much of a roller, improving change, pretty good slider. But the big part of this kid is he's very poised.
Defensively behind Rick Ankiel, it's a good bunch, tops in the league. A couple of Gold Gloves in center field with the new guy that's the favorite son of St. Louis, Jim Edmonds. In the infield, third to first, Polanco, Renteria, Vigna, and McGuire, Lankford, Edmonds, and Drew in the outfield. Jimmy Edmonds keys that outfield with 2 Gold Gloves in the American League. Mike Matheny's had an outstanding start to the season. He catches 20-year-old Rick Ankiel tonight. Santangelo, Grudzielanek, and Green out of the chute for Davy Johnson here to start us tonight. It's the second game of a weekend series, and the LA Dodgers ended a 4-game losing streak by really beating up on Darryl Kyle and the Cardinals yesterday. A 2-hit shutout authored by Darren Dreifert as the Dodgers won the first game of the series. Rick Ankiel dealing with a bit of a glare at twilight here in St. Louis tonight. There's the line rather. In his 6 starts prior to tonight, 3 wins and a loss, and a respectable earned run average at 3.25.
Well, the numbers look good when you see innings pitched and hits, that many fewer hits than innings pitched, but the walks don't look good. The kid with this kind of live arm has got to throw better strikes than that. Just like that. He's got to pitch down and away from hitters to get ahead. Then he can make his other pitches, even though he's struggling. You know, it's tough right now. You see the sun in his face? That is really tough. It's not just getting signs. It's when you go through your delivery and that sun hits you in the eye before you get to the best position to deliver.
On the front foot, Santangelo hits a comebacker for Ankiel, takes care of him for out number 1.
Well, folks, we just saw something what kind of athlete this kid is. He bounced off this mound and made this play look easy. This could have been a very difficult play. Santangelo runs pretty well. It's a high chopper off the side of the mound. Look how quickly he gets to the ball. Plants his feet, throws a bullet to first base. He can do it all. He can hit. He can field. The key, whether this season is the season that he's really going to come of age here, is whether he can get ahead in the count for every hitter. Then he can use his other pitches. That last out pitch he made was a big rolling curveball.
1 gone for Mark Grudzielanek. Guy they call Gruds at 255, 3 dingers, 15 driven in. He's hit in 10 of his last 13. Went through a position change over spring. Had an outstanding season at shortstop last year for the Dodgers. He is the starting second baseman for Davy Johnson's unit this year. Davy in his 2nd year in Los Angeles, 14th year in the big leagues, as Gruds grounds to his second base counterpart Fernando Vigna. One of the new Cardinals takes care of him, and there are quickly 2 away.
Well, you just saw 2 outstanding defensive plays, and that's why the Cardinals are ranked number 1 in the National League in defense. That ball was a rocket. That was hit very hard, and Vigna was over in front of it. His addition to this club, not to mention what he does in the leadoff spot, but where he plays and how he plays defensively. Now he's playing Sean Green in short right field like a softball position. He's out on the grass.
Sean Green, speaking of new additions, has been an outstanding one for Los Angeles. They signed him to a big deal over the offseason, made him the highest paid position player in Major League Baseball. He's hit in his last 5 ball games. A lot of people transplanted from last year, including Sean Green and Jim Edmonds here tonight from the American League. Oh, and another American leaguer, a guy by the name of Griffey, who's now doing his thing in Cincinnati. That's a team trying to catch St. Louis tonight. A big swing and a miss by Sean Green, and it's a very quick all-business 1-2-3 first for Rick Ankiel. Half inning of baseball in the books in St. Louis. Dodgers 0. Cardinals coming to bat. lost a season series to the LA Dodgers since back in 1996. They're going to try and even up their season series at 1 win apiece tonight with a lineup like this here this evening for Tony La Russa. Fernando Vina at second base leads things off. He's off to a great start in his new home here in St. Louis. Legendary tenor Placido Polanco bats second at third base. Edmonds, McGuire, and Langford. A lot of pop 3 through 5. McGuire surprisingly with slow career numbers against the Dodgers. J.D. Drew in right bats in the 6th spot. Renteria, Matheny, and Ankiel rounded out for the Cardinals against veteran right-hander Chan Ho Park on the mound for Los Angeles.
Chan Ho Park is only 26. You've heard of his name for a while now. He's big, 6'2", 205, four-seam fastball, gets up in the low 90s. Tight curveball, erratic slider. His changeup is improving. He's had trouble with left-handed hitters, but lately he's had trouble with his control.
Park making his 8th start of the year tonight, and he'll face Fernando Vina to get it started. Vina, one of 5 left-handed batters in the lineup for Tony La Russa tonight to try and counter Chan Ho Park. Good numbers for Fernando as we pick up things in the bottom of the first.
Vina is a big addition to this team. He is the kind of catalyst at the front end of the order who loves to play and knows how to get on base and make things happen. He has the ability to steal a base, which is nice, as you see Dave McKay going to flip a ball to the fans. These are great fans here, by the way. But Chan Ho Park is going to have trouble with a guy like this because, as you see his numbers here, he's 3-3 with an elevated ERA. But look at the walks. He's got more walks than strikeouts. This is a guy who should be a strikeout pitcher.
Vina with a drive, well hit to right. Back in the corner is Sean Green. He looks up in the corner, and it's off the top of the wall. Home run signal being waved around by the first base umpire, Bruce Fremming. Fernando Vina had hit 1 this year. It was an inside to Parker, and that one barely, and I mean barely, got out of here.
Before a game, your offensive group will sit down and talk about a game plan, how to attack a certain pitcher. They know the numbers. They know that Park has not been throwing strikes. They know that they can jump on him if he gets behind in the count. Now here's a pitch that's down, not up in the zone, down in the zone. And look how Vina just lays the bat on the ball. You want to stay away from low and in on left-handed hitters if you can. And he drops this ball right on the top of the right field fence.
Well, 1 at-bat into the bottom of the first. The Cardinals lead at 1-zip. Placido Polanco picks on the first pitch and lines it to Adrian Beltre, so there's 1 gone for Park.
And we'll take another look at the ball that Vina hit. It hits right on that yellow top of the fence. And it is a home run if it hits against that, and it looks like almost in the crevice behind the fence and that cement block wall that goes up behind.
Every time a guy hits a home run, he goes and stands next to the hitting coach. You notice that?
The hitting coach calls him over, says, stand here with me. Everybody thinks I told you to do that.
Vina just took a seat next to Mike Easler in his 2nd year as hitting coach here in St. Louis as Jim Edmonds digs in at the plate. Snuck right in between Edgar Renteria and the hit doctor there. How about that?
Well, that's all the work they've been doing together. He walks over. How do you like that one? Does that remind you? Remember that home run at Ozzie Smith, the only one he hit that year left-handed?
Fence scraper.
Yeah.
You bet.
Against the Dodgers in the playoffs.
Counts 0-1 on Jimmy Edmonds. Make it 0-2 from Chan Ho Park. There have been some great battles between the Dodgers and the Cardinals over the year. Mark McGuire is due up next. He's certainly a part of the current rivalry. 1-2 to Edmonds.
How imposing are these two guys? Back-to-back, 3 and 4 in the order. And when Tatis is in there after the year that he had last year, of course he's on the DL now, but boy, this is a very powerful lineup.
Park moves Edmonds away from the plate a little bit. Count to 2-2. Jim Edmonds, a native Southern California guy. He and Mark McGuire on deck. Both Southern California guys enjoying the Midwest, to put it mildly. Full count now to Jim Edmonds, 3-2.
Edmonds is such a tough out because we'll show it to you later in another at bat, but he spreads way out. He's like a left-handed Jeff Bagwell. so he doesn't commit real early. He doesn't make much movement with the lower part of his body.
Grounded at first for Eric Karros. He'll do it himself. And there are 2 away for Chan-Ho Park. Part of Jim Edmonds' pleasure of being a Cardinal comes with being teammates with this guy. Mark McGwire, up to his old tricks, tied for 4th in the league in home runs with 12 of them at the start of play tonight. That complemented by a .338 batting average. The 11-time All-Star who sniffs a pennant here in St. Louis. He wants to win. Make no mistake, it's not about the home run chases anymore. Mark McGwire is at his happiest when guys like Vigna, Edmonds, Tatis are garnering all the headlines and the Cardinals are winning.
Boy, is that a good point. You remember last year, he almost got embarrassed the last 2 years when immediately the media ran to him, whether he had a good game or not, or whether they won or lost.
Big swing and a miss, 1-1 from Park.
And he used to kind of get a little agitated with the writers, say, hey, listen, the rest of this team is doing a good job. You know, you got to start going to them. It embarrassed him. Not this team. Watched him in the spring. He feels very comfortable with these guys.
Tried to check it that time, 1-2. You look at some of the numbers on the current Cardinal roster, and you find guys close to McGwire in home runs. You find Mark McGwire not even leading this team in walks. Jim Edmonds has walked more times than Mark McGwire. Really have spread the wealth this year in St. Louis. Fastball stays high by Park, 2-2.
When it's all over, who's going to be on top, though?
Oh, I got to believe.
He's going to be on top in the walks and the home runs and the RBIs. Last year at this time, everybody was talking about the fact that McGwire was not even first on the Cardinals' end. Tatis was way ahead of him in home runs and RBIs.
Line to second. Grudzielanek had him played very well after the home run. No further damage against Chan-Ho Park. You key on Edmonds, McGwire, and Langford, and there's other guys who can beat you in this lineup. Vigna's home run after 1 makes it 1-0 St. Louis. Dodgers in order in the top of the first, top of the second inning. Ankiel back to work. He draws Gary Sheffield, Eric Karros, and Adrian Beltre here in the second. Sheffield, the 5-time All-Star. Only homered once in his last 10, but has 11 on the year, and that ranks him among National League leaders. Never mind. Mike Matheny and Rick Ankiel trying to get on the same page here to start the top of the second. Here we go. And he starts Gary Sheffield with strike 1.
Well, we talked about Gary Sheffield in the open about how tough he is and how quick he is. You see where he's hot. All that red area and that strike or through that hitting zone is what he loves to get at. Take a look at this. So there are not too many places to get him out, just down and out here. And that's only to chase bad breaking balls. But he is very quick.
That's a gaudy looking hot zone right there. Not a lot of room for error when you pitch to Sheffield with that ever active bat of his. 2 balls and a strike from Rick Ankiel. To 3-1 now.
You know, and I look at Sheffield, and when I was managing the White Sox and managing against Gary when he first came up with Milwaukee, he had all sorts of different stances, and he never went to this wide stance till he got 2 strikes on him. And this is where he was most effective.
Ankiel misses low and in for ball 4. Dave Duncan's been a pitching coach for over 20 years. He knows what a special talent Rick Ankiel is.
Well, what makes him a special talent, he's a good hitter. But besides that, he's got a great makeup. He's very mature for his age. I think he has great control of his emotions on the mound. He doesn't get flustered out there when things get tough. Very competitive kid. And when you add that type of makeup with talent, there's a future star in there.
Hard to imagine all the talent in this package. Rick Ankiel, he can throw, he can run, he can catch. Yes, he can hit. He's hit 2 home runs this year. He's 20 years old, Jeff.
It's incredible to me because when you think about the poise of this kid,
as he's facing Eric Karros. And here we are in the middle of that Dodger lineup. He's got a base runner on, but this kid is really poised even in this situation. As you can see, he's very smooth. But one of the problems that this kid's facing is off the field. His dad has been sentenced to prison for nearly 6 years. Now, at 20 years of age, this is a difficult lifestyle to face right here at the major league level, not to mention what he has had to go through off the field.
Working 1-2 to Eric Karros, had him way out in front, a swing and a miss. Second strikeout of the start for Rick Ankiel.
Now this is a breaking ball away, and the key to what Dave Duncan was telling us before the game. Now here's the breaking ball. See it? The big roundhouse rolling breaking ball, and this is like a backdoor pitch, meaning it went over the outside part of the plate. And Eric Karros couldn't lay off the ball. It is a great big curveball. It's not a sharp one. It's a roller.
That'll bring up Adrian Beltre now. 1 man on, 1 man out. Speaking of youth being served, Beltre represents that learning curve, that youth curve in the Dodger lineup. Already his 3rd season in the big leagues, and this guy too, just a kid.
Boy, a very talented young hitter. Gets his weight back and attacks the pitcher well. That's a step-off move. A little step-off. That's what Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan have taught for years. You used to see it all the time with their Oakland clubs. It's a way of combating a potential stolen base. It's one of the moves that they work on all the time.
1 ball and 1 strike in a matchup between two 20-year-old stars.
I started to say, not only is Beltre a good player, the Dodgers almost lost him this year. There was a controversial investigation into how old was he when he signed, and he was younger than 16.
Big swing and a miss.
Well, there's that fastball we're talking about. Dave Duncan was saying before the game that he has a type of fastball, even though the numbers are not really eye poppers, they're in the 90s. Ball seems at the last few feet to get a little extra on it, and there have been guys throughout the game and the history of this game who've been able to do that. Mariano Rivera, for an example, with the Yankees. Nice smooth delivery, and the ball flies right out of his hand. And there was a guy by the name of Sandy Koufax who used to throw with the same arm, or at least from the same side. And Koufax had this real smooth delivery, and the ball exploded out of it. Well, this kid's fastball explodes in the last few feet.
At easy gas. Beltre lines to right. Sheffield to the next station. First Dodger hit of the night.
Now that's a good sign when you see a young power hitter hit the ball the other way against a left-hander. If you're a right-hander, a lot of times they're out there trying to pull the ball. See, he was looking to do that. His head stayed right down the bat. He was looking to shoot that ball the right side. That is a terrific sign for a young hitter, and Rick Down teaches that. Rick Down, a very good hitting coach with the Dodgers.
So Beltre aboard on the opposite field single. Runners at first and second now for the veteran catcher Chad Kreuter. Kreuter playing in just his 12th game this year. A 35-year-old backstop in his 13th year in the big leagues. Well-traveled and well-respected. And today he rests Todd Hundley as the switch hitter gets the night off. Todd Hundley's been swinging a very hot bat, but with a day game tomorrow and with Chan-Ho Park on the mound tonight, Davey Johnson's taking an opportunity to get his backup backstop some action.
Oh, nice play. Mike Matheny went down and just smothered that ball. If he doesn't stop that ball, if it goes between his legs, you've got 2 runners in scoring position. This is a tough play. See how he goes down and keeps it down in between in front of him? That only works when you drop down and keep your head down and get your hands in the hole between your legs. And you better react in a hurry. As we were talking earlier, Ankiel throws a 2-seam fastball that sinks a little bit and has action.
2 balls and a strike to Chad Kreuter. But as we mentioned earlier, the base on balls has been a problem for Ankiel during the year. 29 walks at the start of play, second highest total in the National League. His counterpart tonight, Chan-Ho Park, really has not fared any better in the base on balls department. 28 walks by Park at the start of play, third highest total in the NL. Might be one of those nights.
Well, just there, you just saw him miss with 2 fastballs down and away. He has got to establish his fastball. Not just he, but every pitcher that's ever lived has to be able to throw the fastball where he wants it. There's Dave Duncan, where he usually is, right at Tony La Russa's side. And he says this young man is learning at the major league level. And, of course, you learn all the time, but, I mean, this is force feeding for him.
Tried to nibble there and just missed with ball 4. That'll load the bases. Tuesday at 10:30, Chris Gore and his panel review the upcoming sci-fi thriller Battlefield Earth and the twisted comedy Road Trip. Catch the noon movie show with Chris Gore. It's noon night, Tuesdays at 10:30 right here on FX. Rick Ankiel has loaded the bases here with a base hit and a couple of walks. It's Sheffield at third, Beltre at second, Kruder at first. Better speed in the run-scoring part of that equation. And a big opportunity for shortstop Jose Vizcaino. The switch hitter in there from the right side against Ankiel with the bases loaded. Big curveball starts him for strike 1.
Boy, does it make a difference when you can get a curveball or an off-speed pitch over early in the count. Now, this should set up his other pitches. And what Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa would like here would be a ground ball, possibly double play. If he can't get a strikeout, throw that sinker down. He humped up, and that was 95 miles an hour. He got a little extra on that, and he and Mike Matheny tried to run the ball right on Vizcaino's hands. That's why it's so important to get the first pitch over if you can do that. Statistically, when a hitter is behind in the count, it's incredible what kind of hitter he becomes defensively.
That one almost got away from Matheny in the count now to a ball and 2 strikes.
You know, that is one of the toughest pitches to catch. One that goes up when you have called a breaking ball or a fastball with runner at third base. You are saying to yourself, block the ball in the dirt, block the ball in the dirt. And then one of these gets away up over your head. You almost can't react.
Bounce to third. Look what I found hot for Placido Polanco, and the legendary tenor turns it into a double play. Score at 5-3. It couldn't have landed on a better spot for Polanco. Despite loading the bases with 1 away, nothing in the Dodgers' second. He's nursing a bad groin. Placido Polanco's gotten some opportunities in the infield for the Cardinals, and he makes the most of one here.
This is an outstanding play. They get the ground ball that they want with the bases loaded. Polanco takes the throw, tags the base. He's in foul ground by then and throws a bullet to first base, and they get out of the inning. That's what the ability to get ground balls, and if you have the type of defense that the Cardinals have, #1 in the National League. How about the Dodger defense?
Dodger defense behind Chan-Ho Park looks like this. Funny you should ask, Jeff. It's Sheffield, Santangelo, and Green in the outfield. In the infield, third to first, Beltre, Vizcaino, Grudzielanek, and Karros. Chad Kruder gets a start behind the plate. Sean Green highlights that defensive attack. Won his first Gold Glove in the American League last year in right. He can run it down, he can catch it, and he can throw it. Ray Lankford opens the bottom of the second for the home team. Lankford, Drew, and Renteria against Chan-Ho Park.
Unfortunately, that Dodger defense has been the weak spot for the Dodgers for the last number of years. They have been very weak.
Well, the Dodgers had some choices to make coming out of spring training. Do they try and score some more runs with a guy like Kevin Elster at shortstop? Or do they give that job to somebody else? As it happens, Elster is unavailable on the disabled list, but there's some of the gory details, speaking of the Chris Gore movie review show. Ball and 2 strikes on Ray Lankford. This illustrates a problem here, Jeff. It's been written and said in St. Louis quite a bit that with the marrying of American and National League umpires, it's been particularly troubling for whatever reason to Ray Lankford. Bill Welke behind the dish tonight.
Well, I don't know why it would be. It certainly hasn't slowed down the offense of his teammates. Now, Ray last year got off to a very slow start because he had knee surgery in the offseason. He hadn't even asked the Cardinals about it. He went ahead and did it. And for the first couple months of the season last year, he struggled with a bad knee, but he's healthy this year. I watched him all spring, and he was swinging the bat very well.
2-2. He's late on a fastball. A swing and a miss. First strikeout of the night for Chan-Ho Park.
You know, sometimes when you look at hitters, it look like they're guessing, and they never guess the right pitch. This ball was past him before he even got the swing going. Watch this. Watch how late he is. It's already by him. It's in the catcher's glove when he's just starting his swing. It looks like Ray mentally is messed up. Now here's a good-looking young hitter who struggled last year. Looks like a young Mickey Mantle.
J.D. Drew.
Excuse me, not because he wears number 7, but because he hits left-handed and he hits some big-time home runs, and he kind of looks like him in the face.
Came up last year for a cup of coffee at the end of the season. Came up 2 years ago, rather, for that cup of coffee and turned some heads. And as you mentioned, struggled last year, but nothing wrong with that stroke this season. The base hit back up the middle for Drew.
Well, he's got this good stroke. He likes the ball down. Now watch how he does a little like Mickey Mantle. He sinks down just a little bit, and then he takes the head of the bat down for the low pitch. Now watch how he goes down to get this pitch. See him sink down. Here he goes. Wow, look at that head action right down the bat. The ball jumps off his bat. He's really looking at a very, very special year this year.
He can run a little bit too. Chan Ho Park will keep his eye on him as he works the Edgar Renteria. Renteria dropped down into the 7th spot in the order by Tony La Russa. He had hit second for much of the year behind Fernando Vina, but Renteria has slowed down a bit at the plate, checking in at 262 at the start of play tonight. Drew with a conservative lead from first.
When you look at a big pitcher like Park, who has a big high leg kick, you wonder how quick he is to the plate. And the Cardinals, obviously, and throughout baseball, they have scouting reports, and sometimes the coaches at first base even have a stopwatch. They will see how quick he is to the plate. If he is more than 1.35 seconds to the plate, they'll take a chance of running.
What are you doing with your watch there?
Well, I was just wanting to see how quick he was. He's pretty quick. And one of the ways to offset, if you're looking at a pitcher, one of the ways to offset a high leg kick is to drop on your back leg. So you can still lift your front leg, but dropping on your back leg, you're quicker. Take a look at Park. We'll take a look at him deliver the ball to the plate.
2 balls and a strike to Edgar Renteria with Drew off first.
He'll drop very quickly down on his right leg. That was a Don Drysdale trick. Instead of worrying about keeping, for an example, keeping your back leg straight up and then lifting your front leg up, you don't do that. You drop down on that back leg, and it makes you quicker.
Big swing and a miss by Renteria, 2-2.
We'll take a look at this in slow motion. We're talking about a drop and drive pitcher. See how he drops down on that back leg real quick? Well, then when he lifts his front leg, he's much quicker to the plate.
Been compared to Tom Seaver because of the size of his thighs in his past, and he is all leg, Chan Ho Park.
Well, Nolan Ryan was the same way. When you see your true power pitchers who drop down on the back leg, they're called drop and drivers. Sinker ballers and curve ballers stand tall. They stay almost with a close to stiff right leg or back leg if they're a right-handed pitcher. Drop and driver drops on that back leg and drives to the plate.
Spiked one in the dirt there to fill the count at 3-2 to Renteria.
And now you're in a situation after a very nice stop here by Chad Kruger. See, it's a breaking ball. Look how he gets down there. Keeps his head down, and his job isn't finished when he blocks it. He's got to jump up and get it. But you are in a situation now where Tony La Russa will probably run J.D. Drew here on a full count, 1 out.
Drew measuring off an extra half step from first. There he goes. A full count pitch on, misses high and tight, ball 4. First walk of the night by Chan Ho Park. That puts runners at first and second with 1 away.
You know, there's a term in baseball about a pitcher, and they call him a maximum effort guy. That means he's putting everything he's got into the pitch as Mike Matheny steps to the plate. But that's what Park is. He's a maximum effort guy. Every pitch, boy, he is 100% effort, and that's part of the reason why he has some control problems.
Well, he's coming off one of his shortest outings of the year. Only lasted 3 2/3 on May 8th at Arizona. He's in a spot here. Mike Matheny, the batter. 0-1 to Matheny, who came to the Cardinals camp this spring as a non-roster guy. Wasn't even guaranteed a spot in St. Louis. He's made his offseason home here in St. Louis for the past number of years. He was thrilled to get the opportunity, and he passed a couple of guys on the depth chart, including young catcher Eli Marrero, who the Cardinals wanted to build around a couple of years ago. But Matheny, with an eye-popping spring training and a tremendous April, they can't keep him out of the lineup.
Well, that's a good point. This spring, I went to spring training with the Montreal Expos because their owner, Jeffrey Loria, is a very good friend. And the Expos and the Cardinals share a facility in Jupiter, Florida, beautiful spring training facility. So the Expos and the Cardinals played each other almost every other day. Boy, I watched Matheny and Marrero. They were the two as good a tandem of throwing catchers as I've ever seen on the same team. And Matheny has a little pop in his bat, as does Marrero. Now, remember, Marrero came back from cancer surgery a couple years ago, and he's building himself back. But over the last couple of years, the Cardinals have had very good throwing catchers.
Matheny behind 0-2, and Park taking his time working to him. Well, where Mike Matheny has really impressed this year has been on the defensive end. As you check the base runners, Drew and Renteria with one away. Matheny leads Major League Baseball. He has thrown out 68% of those who have tried to steal against him. That's a gaudy number. And now Park and Kruder want to get on the same page and chat about things.
Well, the fans boo a little bit, and they're feeling as, you know, here they are already into the second inning. Don't they know the signs? The problem is they have a runner at second base right now, and they want to make sure that when you use a sequence of signs, and it's predetermined when you have a runner at second what you're using, maybe the last sign, second sign, so on, you want to make sure that you're both on the same page when you go to this different set of signs. And normally you don't worry about a young base runner like J.D. Drew stealing signs. That's usually the veteran with more confidence, been out there a while. He might be the one that steals signs. But there are some base runners who just show location.
That one gets away from Kruder. A free 90 feet for both Drew and Renteria. Scored is a wild pitch to Chan-Ho Park.
And you think they better go out and talk this one over again after that? That's good. That's good that they are talking again. Good to see the veteran catcher just say, hey, okay, I should have stopped the ball, but he should. There's no way he could have. But you try to, he almost came up with a nice backhand, a do or die, just one of those reach out and snag it things. That's the job of the catcher. He's got to really be a guy that builds the confidence of his pitcher, especially now with a runner at third base. He's got to tell him, I can catch anything you throw, because you get to a situation, and Park's got a great downer curveball. I can catch it now.
Has to make another good stop.
And there's the pitch I'm talking about. If you are a pitcher and you don't have confidence that your catcher can catch the breaking ball in the dirt, you might just spin it up there for a strike. A get me over curveball, and that's the one that gets hit. So as a catcher, you say to your pitcher, don't worry about it. I can catch anything you're going to throw up here.
Already creeping up on the 11 wild pitches he uncorked last year is Chan-Ho Park, making his 8th start tonight. He's 2-2 to Matheny now after being in front of him 0-2. Swing and a miss, he got him. And that's exactly where Chad Kruder wanted it, a big strikeout for Chan-Ho Park. That'll bring up Rick Ankiel. Generally, you can relax when a pitcher comes to the plate, but not with this kid. Dave Duncan told us he was a great hitter, and yeah, he's right. This was his second of 2 home runs. Came against Milwaukee's Steve Woodard about 3 weeks ago, and he can field his position as well. Rick Ankiel is the complete package. And his hitting coach, yes, his hitting coach, Mike Easler, has said about Ankiel's bat prowess, there's no technique about it at all. There's nothing skilled about it. It is all God-given talent.
I'll tell you what, he's got, you know, you talk about bat speed, getting the back through the strike zone, what your good hitters do. This kid's got a quick bat.
But he's not afraid to take a hack either.
20 years old. What is he, 3 years out of high school? Swinging the bat like this in the major leagues.
0-1 from Park. Beaten on the ground to the right side. Grizzolonic to his right. Gets there to make the play and put away Ankiel. Park strands a pair of Cardinals. We played 2 at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. 1-0 Cards. St. Louis Cardinals this year sold 2.6 million tickets before opening day, a new franchise record. And the key additions that we've been talking about early tonight, a big part of that, guys like Fernando Vina, Jim Edmonds, Darryl Kyle, Pat Henkin, a couple of pitchers who we will not see tonight, both starters. Instead, we get to see the 20-year-old phenom Rick Ankiel, and he's been on the game so far tonight. Talked about the big contract extension that was offered and certainly signed by Jim Edmonds yesterday, Jeff. He signed a 6-year deal. That is the longest in franchise history.
But I would think if you get a star like this who has the opportunity to become a free agent, you take advantage of it, no matter what it is he's asking for, and because in a way they got a bargain out on the open market. As you see Chan-Ho Park standing in, who's a pretty good hitter, by the way.
Ball and no strikes on Chan-Ho Park. Big swing and a miss.
But when you get a total package such as Jim Edmonds, you know, a guy who's an outstanding defensive center fielder, can run, has pop in his bat, and you know he's proven what he could do with the Angels, and coming in here after the off year he had last year because of injury. It really shows you that the Cardinals they're serious. I mean, when they just signed Vigna to a 3-year deal for $5 million a year, and you think about Renteria is young at short, Tatis is young at third. There's strike 3 on Park.
Park caught looking one away to start the third. Hey, next Saturday, Derek Jeter leads the world champion New York Yankees into Cleveland to take on Manny Ramirez and the swinging Indians. Yankees, Indians, FX baseball next Saturday at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific. FX marks the game. One gone here for Rick Ankiel, working top third. Back to the top of the order for Los Angeles, switch hitter F.P. Santangelo. Santangelo, a free agent acquisition over the winter, Jeff, that certainly did not garner the type of headlines that a Jim Edmonds acquisition or even a Sean Green acquisition that the Dodgers traded for with Toronto over the winter. But Santangelo is a guy that can certainly help you, as he proves here with a one-out single. Versatile switch hitter, played every position last year except for pitcher and catcher.
Well, we talked about the kind of breaking ball Ankiel has, that big, slow breaking ball. And then on a slow breaking ball, you really have to stay back on your back leg. You can't be rolling forward. That is what Santangelo does here. Look how he stays back. He waits for that breaking ball and then just gets extension. And yes, his value is in his ability to play everywhere. Especially a National League club needs that, with double switches and pinch hitting for the pitcher. And even though his batting average is way down below the interstate, he's still a valuable member of this Dodger club.
Here's Mark Grudzielanek now with 1 out and 1 on. Saw the graphic on Gruds. 326 last year. Highest average by a Dodger shortstop in franchise history, and the first over 300 since Maury Wills hit 302 in 1963. It had been quite a while since the Dodgers had that kind of productivity at shortstop. And what happens to Grudzielanek over the winter? He moves to second base. He also had a good defensive year there last year, and he'd been much maligned for his defensive skills over the past. It made great improvements from both sides of the ball last year. There goes a runner. Throw down from Mike Matheny is offline. A rare stolen base against Mike Matheny as F.P. Santangelo swipes his first of the year.
Well, as you say, against Matheny, it is really not Matheny's stolen base. This was a great jump by Santangelo. Watch how many steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps before the ball was delivered by Ankiel. Matheny didn't have a chance on this. Even with a perfect throw, he doesn't get him. That, again, is another value of a Santangelo who has the ability to run, play all the positions.
RBI opportunity now for Grudzielanek. He tried to check it. He went around to 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Now, you know, you were talking about Grudzielanek. He did have some poor years defensively. They were mostly in Montreal on that artificial turf up there that is a mess. But he had 27 errors one year, 32, 23. He cut that down to 13 last year with the Dodgers.
Stays at 2-2.
You know, in 1996, he had 201 hits. That's a lot of hits. And then you talk about what he accomplished last year when you're comparing a year like Maury Wills had hitting as a shortstop, hitting over 300. We talked so many times about Maury Wills, who is one of those guys, in my opinion, belongs in the Hall of Fame, and he was one of those guys that made the Dodgers of the 50s and 60s the go-go Dodgers.
Grounded to third. That's a fair ball for Polanco. They take care of Grudzielanek at first and keep Santangelo at second in the same time.
How about this Polanco playing third base? I mean, he's a shortstop. I mean, he's a guy who can play short, and third base is not as easy as shortstop in one sense of the word, because the ball's on you quicker. look how he doesn't panic. He goes and gets the ball, goes across, he's way over in foul ground and comes up throwing. No.
So much has been said about the Cardinals' offensive attack this year. They can catch it as well. That's been a huge part of their success this year, and a big reason why they're on top in the National League Central as Sean Green swings and misses. They lead the National League in fielding, having committed only 14 errors. And bear in mind that last year the Cardinals were 12th in the National League in total team defense.
Well, here's Sean Green, who just tore the cover off the ball this week against Randy Johnson. Only 2 other hitters, left-handed hitters this year, had gotten hits against him, and he goes up and gets 2 hits. He had 3 for the night. This guy's a good hitter. He has not looked good tonight on this big, slow breaking ball, but he makes adjustments.
1 ball and 1 strike to Sean Green, trying to pick up Santangelo at second with 2 away. Signed that big 6-year deal over the offseason after being acquired by the Dodgers. And at 27 years old, Kevin Malone and the Dodger people think that he has reached his prime as a major league player, and they inked him to that big deal just as his numbers are going to top out and get huge. To 2 balls and a strike. A huge year last season for Sean Green, his final in Toronto. He won a Gold Glove defensively. He banged 42 home runs, knocked in 123. He's not off to the same type of pace with the home run ball this year, but he's on a better pace as far as his batting average compared to his great all-star year of 1999. Checked his swing there, counting out a 3-1.
He has credited Gary Sheffield as the teammate who has helped him the most at trying to make an adjustment to a new league. And Gary has said to him, be aggressive. You'll find in the National League the pitchers try to get ahead of you. They don't try to fool you with breaking stuff early in the count. Just try to jump them as fast as you can. And we are in a hitter's count now at 3-1. We'll see what he gets.
That's an awfully good pitch by Rick Ankiel. Picked up the outside part of the plate. 3-2.
With an open base, there are a lot of things you can think about doing, but the problem you have is look who's standing on deck. You don't want to take a chance with Gary Sheffield, right-handed, facing a left-handed pitcher, to really pitch around any one hitter too much, not with him coming up.
Payoff to Green, misses in the dirt, ball 4. That's the 3rd walk tonight issued by Rick Ankiel. Runners at first and second with 2 away, and this is exactly the situation you talked about, Jeff. Gary Sheffield will have a chance to do some damage here in the 3rd.
Well, the reason I brought it up, Matt, was when you come to that situation where it's 3-2 with an open base, and you got a young pitcher who just threw a fastball on the outside part to a good fastball hitter and got away with it, you think, will they go with a breaking ball here where they're not worried that much about walking him? But when you glance to the side, catchers look over to see who's on deck, and you go, uh-oh, I'm not sure we should do that. But Matheny and Ankiel gave it a shot. But now they've got to be careful. This guy has some fast bat.
Here is Sheffield digging in with runners on.
Matt, I was saying earlier in his first at bat, when I used to manage against him when he was very young, I hated to see him get to 2 strikes where he spread out, which is the stance he's in now. He's taken to this all the time because he was such a tough out. There's a balk. They called a balk, and we'll have to take a look at the replay because I don't know what he did. I don't know if we started up or made a move and broke his hands, meaning he pulled the ball out of the glove.
Now base hit by Sheffield could score a pair as we take a look at this again.
Well, there it was. He moved his back foot, and when he moved his back foot to get a better feel of the rubber, it looked like he was starting his delivery. Once you set up and you get your foot set on the rubber, you can't make a move without continuing. Now watch his back foot. Watch the back foot right here. It'll go, and then the hand moves just a little bit. See the hand move?
Well, you talk about subtle. Home plate umpire Bill Welke was all over it, however. Runners at second and third now for Sheffield. 1 ball, no strikes. Neither starter what you'd call particularly settled in this game so far, Jeff.
No, they're both relying on curveballs that have been thrown in the dirt a lot, and that's one of the problems. If you have 2 pitchers that don't have real sharp command, you're going to have a lot of happenings, especially bouncing balls at the plate and a lot of base runners. It's exactly what we've seen.
Now it's gone to 3 balls and no strikes on Gary Sheffield. First base is open with 2 away, but there's a very powerful right-handed hitter waiting on deck. His name is Eric Karros. We'll see how careful Ankiel is on 3-0. He loses him on ball 4. He wanted nothing to do with Sheffield once he fell behind.
Matt, that was a good call. You could tell by where Chad Kreuter, I shouldn't say Chad Kreuter, I should say Mike Matheny set up. He did not sit behind the plate. He was a good 6 inches outside. They didn't want to come anywhere near that plate. Now, one of the reasons was that Carroll struck out the first time up against Ankiel and did not look real good. But watch where Matheny sets up. See, he's nowhere near the plate. So that's obvious that they don't want to fool around with Gary Sheffield.
So a huge opportunity now for Eric Karros. Dodgers down by 1. They've loaded the bases here, top 3. 4 walks by Rick Ankiel through 2 2/3, and Karros wants to make him pay. 2 career grand slams, 1 last year and 1 in the year 2000. Eric Karros went 8+ years without hitting a grand slam. That's lined out to center. Jim Edmonds is there for it. And again, Ankiel puts some runners on and avoids any damage. Dodgers are stranded 5 through 3, 2.5 gone, still 1-0 Cards. One after one another, you're probably not surprised to hear that the 1 run is courtesy of a home run. You might be surprised to hear who was responsible for that home run. It is Fernando Vina, who started the bottom of the 1st inning with his 2nd home run this season. His first that actually got out of the park. In 5 years prior to this season, Vina had hit 22 home runs, already 2 this season. And the guy who was acquired in exchange for right-hander Juan Acevedo has quickly become one of the most popular players here in St. Louis.
Well, he definitely is a little spark plug, and he really helps the club at the front end of the order. The problem he had been having for a couple years with Milwaukee was he was injured quite often, but he comes to play.
Vina leads things off in the bottom half of the 3rd. Vina, Polanco, and Edmonds at top of the order against Chan-Ho Park for the Cardinals. Grounded to the left side, a tricky play for Beltre. Throw to first is in time to get Vina.
Now, we talked about the Dodger defense being one that has not been real effective this year, but this play by Beltre, young Beltre, the 3rd base, is a nice play. See, he's playing off the base, and he cuts way over in front of shortstop. Has a little trouble getting the ball, but he's got a good live arm and is able to beat Vina going to first base.
So 1 gone now for Placido Polanco. Park working with 1 away and the base is empty. And speaking of guys who have all of a sudden exploded with home run pop, 3 dingers this year in 25 games. He'd hit only 2 in his entire major league career before the season.
Well, I heard that good hitting and good base running is contagious. Maybe home runs are contagious. You know, I had to laugh with all this explosion of offense. I read an article the other day, and somebody said, why, this little 190-pound infielder hit a ball out of the ballpark. And I thought to myself, do they realize that Henry Aaron only weighed 185 pounds and Willie Mays 180 pounds?
There have only been a couple of guys to hit 40 home runs and weigh less than 170. Ben Oglivie hit 40 home runs 1 year. A skinny guy. Well, the offense has really changed here in St. Louis from the days that Whitey Herzog used to manage from that home dugout. And guys like Lonnie Smith and Willie McGee and Vince Coleman used to run wild on the bases. It is now a home run game here in St. Louis. Consider this, 74 home runs by the Cardinals already this year. Call it 75 with Vina's today. They're on a pace for 342. And that would demolish the major league record set by the Mariners a couple of years ago. A full count now to Placido Polanco. And consider this as well, that the last time the Cardinals won the World Series in 1982, they finished last in the big leagues with 67 home runs. George Hendrick led the team with 19. Lonnie Smith had more steals last year than that year than the entire team had home runs. Polanco pops to right for Sean Green. How about the 86 Cardinals? 58 home runs as a team, and this guy, Andy Van Slyke, led him with all of 13 that year. McGuire's got 12 already.
Well, there are a lot of ways to win. But this Cardinal bunch now, Walt Jocketty, the general manager, has done a great job of putting a very deep team together. You know, he's got backup strength everywhere. He's got 4 outfielders that he can rotate, with Eric Davis coming off the bench as well.
Here's Jim Edmonds now. Speaking of home runs, he's sitting on 11 right now, and he's among National League leaders in just about every category you want to throw up there. On the Toyota League leaderboard, Jimmy Edmonds is just all over the place at .521 on base percentage, tops in the NL, second in batting average, and second in slugging at a cool .771. Not to mention he leads the National League in walks with 31 already this year. 1-2 to Jim Edmonds. No, the fact remains, why would you run as a manager when you got guys like Edmonds, McGuire, Tatis when he's healthy, who can hit the ball to the ballpark at any given moment? You might end a rally.
Yeah, you might. And also, if you run and you say you're Edmonds in front of him and there are 2 outs, you run and steal the base, they'll walk McGuire behind him.
Fastball stays a bit outside by a park count to 2-2. It is Big Mac on deck.
Boy, he is big, too. Look at him. Is he some kind of strong-looking player? We were talking before the game with the great Vin Scully, the Dodger announcer, about the size of players nowadays.
Edmonds is caught looking. Park zipped the fastball past him on the inside half. It's a 1-2-3 third, turned in by Chan-Ho Park. 3 complete in the books. Cardinals lead it by a run. St. Louis, and a city whose baseball team used to have a hold on half the country. And the Dodgers moved west in '58, and that balance of power shifted a bit. Matt Vasgersian back with Jeff Torborg. Fernando Vina's home run, yes, Fernando Vina's home run, has lifted the Cardinals to an early 1-0 lead as we pick up the top of the 4th inning. It'll be Adrian Beltre to lead things off. Beltre, Kruder, and Vizcaino against Rick Ankiel. Adrian Beltre, 20 years old. Rick Ankiel, 20 years old. And in trying to remember what I was doing at the age of 20, Jeff, it likely involved, you know, a big burrito, a chocolate shake, and a fraternity house couch somewhere. It certainly did not involve Major League Baseball. Some of the most unbelievable young talent in the game right here tonight in this pitching matchup, per se.
Well, Ankiel is the kid that has been touted for the last couple of years as being the best pitching prospect in the minor leagues.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Adrian Beltre.
And I think you mentioned what Beltre did last year. He had 15 home runs and 67 RBIs with 18 stolen bases. That's for a kid who's just in his 20th year. And he's at the major league level doing that, just getting his feet wet and learning how to play the game. That is some start.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Adrian Beltre. Big swing and a miss. Hey, weeknights on FX. Join the guys on the X Show. Learn how to please the gals and get in gear for the hot fun of the summer. Catch a brand new season starting Monday. The X Show, weeknights at 11 right here on FX. You ever seen that X Show?
Can't say I have.
Haven't you? I think it's a perfect show. I think it's a perfect show for you and Mrs. Torborg, if I might be so bold.
I sit and watch my son wrestle and watch the annex and the wrestling, you know, and watch some of these outstanding athletes, by the way.
Oh, no doubt.
But you're never sure what you're going to see, you know.
No question. That's fun stuff. 1 away for Chad Kruder. Kruder walked to load the bases in the 2nd inning. It was the first of 2 bases loaded situations for the Dodgers tonight. Each time they've been unable to break through against Rick Ankiel. Little lefty's already stranded 5 Dodgers this evening, much to the chagrin of that man. Count to 2-2 on Kruder.
Just watching Ankiel work and remembering what Dave Duncan had told us before the game, by throwing that 2-seam sinker down in the strike zone early in the count, he's much more effective And strangely enough, as good a catcher as Matheny is, he just dropped that ball. And you hate to see anything close to the strike zone dropped, especially not a strike. You might not get it the next time from the umpire. Major league catchers, or most catchers, got to play games themselves. Don't drop any pitches if you can help it.
3-2 pitch, a little dunker out to short right center field. Jim Edmonds is there. You win 2 Gold Gloves in the American League by running them down like that. Some afternoon activity around the big leagues today. The Reds beat the Astros 8-7. That moves them into a virtual tie for first in the Central with these Cardinals. And somebody's waking up in Cincinnati, Jeff. Ken Griffey Jr. with a pair of home runs.
Yeah, they ain't seen nothing yet, so to speak, with that bunch. Boy, he can flat out play.
Little offense between the Giants and Rockies. Oh, that's odd in Coors Field. Barry Bonds with his 15th to lead the National League.
Now, the American League have watched Kenny Griffey Jr. play for a number of years and excel. And there are times, you know, he looks a little flat. The next time you look up, he's beaten you a couple times. But what a player he is. What a big series that the Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds had last week. You know, you go head to head, and at that point the Cardinals were 3.5 games ahead going in and lost 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati, and Griffey had something to do with that.
2 balls and a strike to count on Jose Vizcaíno. Tony La Russa, one of only 11 managers to manage in 4 decades. And he's got a pretty good group here in St. Louis for the 2000 season. Maybe his best team since the World Series team that he had in Oakland in 1989.
You know, Tony's 1990 team that was swept in the World Series by Cincinnati was a heck of a club. They won 103 games. My Chicago White Sox, who won 94, were chasing them, and we couldn't get close. I mean, for a while we were with them. But, of course, Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco and Dave Stewart, that was a pretty good team. But
you bet.
Tony La Russa is some manager.
2-2, a swing and a miss. Matheny drops, throws down to first to ensure the out. A couple of strikeouts in the 4th by Rick Ankiel as he mows down the Dodgers 1, 2, 3 in the 4th. Football team here in St. Louis had a pretty good year this past season. The hockey team, those St. Louis Blues, they set a franchise record for wins but bowed out early in the playoffs. This baseball team might be the most popular attraction in town, and that man is probably the biggest reason. Mark McGuire leads off the bottom of the 4th inning for St. Louis. What kind of pace is Big Mac on this year? After 35 games with 12 dingers, he's very close to that record-setting pace in 1998. That's frightening. McGuire to lead off the bottom of the 4th. He lined a second in his first at-bat to end the 1st inning tonight. One ball and 1 strike from Chan-Ho Park.
Matt, watching Big Mac hit, he is so much better a hitter now than he was when he was having those outstanding years with Oakland. His stroke is shorter.
Oh, Park snuck a little breaking pitch in there on him there. 1 and 2.
Well, you better use everything you've got with McGuire. Try to move the ball around. You can see him. He's got a wide base, but his hands are just behind his shoulder.
2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's amazing when you look at the different stances you see around baseball, how they really vary in what works for a given hitter. But see how wide his base is. We were talking before, the hitter that precedes him in the order in Edmonds, he has a real wide stance. But this way you're not fooled as much. You got your balance, you get your weight back, and you can stay back better. But he's cut his swing down from what it used to be. He is so short and quick.
Big fan of the top hand release. That Charlie Lau stuff. Swing and a miss. Park gets him for out number 1. That's a big strikeout to start the bottom of the 4th for Chan-Ho.
Now, they got him out on a hanging breaking ball. That ball stayed inside, never did get out over the plate, and kind of tied Mark up.
So 1 gone. And that's a big one to start the inning. That'll bring up Ray Lankford now, who was Park's first strikeout victim in the second inning. Chan-Ho has K'd 4 through 3 1/3.
And also, he's starting to get his breaking ball over. If he starts getting that over, he'll be tougher. And it'll set up his high-riding fastball more.
Another breaking ball swung on and missed. 0-2.
Remember what we said when Ray Lankford came up the first time, that he's been struggling, and you mentioned that there had been some talk that the umpires have fouled him up a little bit. Well, right now, he doesn't know what to look for. He's had 2 breaking balls, 2 big curveballs that he hasn't been able to handle. Now what does he do? Does he defend against the breaking ball? If he does, they'll throw the fastball right by them like he did the first time up.
Fastball stays high. Well, all those problems with new strike zones and new umpires. You get a couple of calls that you don't agree with, and you find yourself second-guessing people when you're walking up there at the plate, namely yourself. And that's where the problems begin. It's all an internal process. It's not a question of the call itself as much as it is what it does to your approach as a hitter.
Well, this is such a mental game to begin with. If you have any doubt in your mind, you go to the plate of what you can hit, you're in trouble.
Jerk into the corner, foul. Heads up Bruce Fremming down there at first base. Bruce can move pretty good when he needs to.
Especially when there's a rocket coming at him. That was a breaking ball. Another breaking ball as Bruce tips his cap, but that was another breaking ball, but that was inside. The first 2 were out over the plate to Ray Lankford.
So 1 and 2 strikes from Chan-Ho Park, working out of the windup on 1-2. Got him on a breaking ball and does the splits at the same time. Hey, now that takes the Carlos Perez type of showmanship to a new level.
Well, also the Dodgers all of a sudden collectively hold their breath. You wonder when a guy falls like this, he pulls something. This is another curveball. The bottom falls out of it. It's a hard one. Not only does the bottom fall out of the curveball, so does it fall out of Chan-Ho Park. Look at that move.
He went into his Dominic Hasek.
That's right. Watch him go down now. Delivers the ball and does the splits. Oh, man, if I ever went down like that, they'd have kept me off of there with a derrick.
If I ever went down like that, I'd be sounded like Madeline Kahn for a couple of weeks. 2 gone now for J.D. Drew. The big college numbers. And he came into the big leagues with all those tags labeled on him. Can't miss. Big-time prospect. Held the Phillies for ransom after they selected him first in the amateur draft a few years ago. Wouldn't sign. Tried to go pro immediately. And changed the entire arbitration process. That didn't happen. He was chosen by the Cardinals. Came up for a cup of coffee at the end of the '98 season. Hit 4 home runs in 15 games. And all of a sudden, J.D. Drew was being counted on in '99 to be a big run producer. That didn't happen as he struggled last year, but he fits in a lot more anonymously, if you will, with the year 2000 Cardinal lineup. And there's not as much pressure on him this year.
Absolutely well put. He was injured quite a bit last year. Just little nagging injuries with hands, with his legs. But most of all, the opposition fed him nothing but off-speed pitches, and he has to adjust. He's getting them now, but he's being more selective. He'll take that pitch instead of chase it.
Full count on J.D. Drew. 3-2. 2 gone for Chan-Ho Park. Three-2 home. You gotcha. Chan-Ho strikes out the side in the 4th. Oh, somebody's feeling nasty. End of 4, 1-0 Cardinals. Out through 4. Placido Polanco has played a nice little third base in place of Fernando Tatis. That's part of the reason. Fernando Tatis, one of a number of players, one of a number of star players not available to his team at this juncture in the season. It's been kind of an early story in the year 2000 campaign. Look at all the star power on the DL. Garcia, Parra, Walker, Tatis, the aforementioned. Ugueth Urbina just went down a couple of days ago, and the Expos are closing with Dustin Hermanson. And look at the rest of the names there. John Smoltz has been out since opening day. Barry Larkin went out early in the season. Mark Grace just went down last week, as did Derek Jeter. A lot of big stars who are currently sitting on the bench. 0-2 2 to Chenho Park. Comebacker. And Ankiel can field, as we told you earlier. There's one away to start the 5th.
You know, there's one guy we didn't mention there, too, and that's one of the managers. Charlie Manuel's still at home after having had surgery. A lot of guys banged up, and that's why the depth is so important for a ball club, and that's what Walt Jocketty has done here with the Cardinals. He's got basically four starting outfielders. He's got 2 good defensive catchers. Polanco can play all over his infield. They also have 3 key pitchers, very key pitchers on the DL. 2 left-handers for the bullpen. Scott
Santangelo now.
I'm sorry, Scott Radinsky is one, the left-hander who had elbow surgery, and Jesse Orozco, and then Matt Morris, the big right-hander who was really the ace of the staff a couple of years ago, should be coming back in June. Now, how does that affect this ball club? Because if there is a weak spot right now with the Cardinals, it probably is their bullpen.
It's been a problem in St. Louis for the past couple of seasons. 98 bullpen for Tony La Russa, blew a major league high 31 save opportunities. Closer has been a problem. They've used 4 closers in the last 4 years here under the La Russa-Duncan combination. Currently, Dave Veers has the honor. He was acquired from the Rockies in the offseason. He's done a marvelous job. He was a big acquisition.
Yeah, they really like him. He's a quality closer. He really didn't close much until last year.
Santangelo pops it up. Fernando Vina's out there in short right, and there are 2 away for Ankiel. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Two gone for Rick Ankiel with the bases empty. That'll bring up the second baseman, Mark Grudzielanek. A couple of years after the trade that brought Carlos Perez and Mark Grudzielanek to Los Angeles in exchange for a number of players. Peter Bergeron, the speedy center fielder, Wilton Guerrero, and pitcher Ted Lilly. It's probably enough hindsight now to evaluate that trade. And despite the struggles of Carlos Perez last year, it looks like a pretty good one for the Dodgers.
I think it's one of those deals that's helped both clubs because Bergeron is the starting center fielder and is starting now to get his feet on the ground. He had 2 hits yesterday, but he's a left-handed hitter who can fly. And he plays center field like it's his own. I mean, he owns it. He's got a chance to be very good. Wilton Guerrero has basically become a pinch hitter deluxe for Felipe Alou. The Expos lost Ted Lilly to the Yankees in the Arabu deal.
A swing and a miss by Grudzielanek and a 1-2-3 fifth by Rick Ankiel, who's now retired 7 in a row. Full moon in the skies over Busch Stadium in St. Louis tonight. The youngsters are still awake. You better believe it, because Mark McGwire and company still have a couple of more at-bats tonight at least. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. 1-0 Cardinals. Edgar Renteria leads things off against Chenho Park. Renteria walked in the 2nd. The Cardinals have not had a base runner in this ballgame since that walk. Chenho Park has retired the last 8 he has faced, including striking out the last 4 batters that have come to hit against him. It's a healthy 4-inning line, 6 punch-outs, 1 run on that home run by Fernando Vina, only a couple of hits.
It shows what can happen. 4 straight strikeouts because he started to get his breaking ball over. He was throwing 2 and 3 in a row, and then one after the other was looking better and better. It's a field pitch.
Fouled away, 1-2 now on Renteria. Well, Chenho Park attempting to do perhaps, maybe not as dramatic, but attempting to give Davey Johnson a good long start tonight, as Darren Dreifert was able to do yesterday. 2-hit complete game shutout to rest what has been a very weary Los Angeles bullpen. The Dodgers had lost 4 in a row against the Diamondbacks, and in the process, the bullpen really got beat up. 1-2 to Renteria, popped him up. Karros off first. And there's one gone to start the bottom of the 5th. Fans, this Thursday on Fox Sports Net Baseball Thursday, these same Cardinals travel to Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Or some of you may see the red-hot Oakland A's host the Minnesota Twins. Jeremy and Jason Giambi, a brothers act in Oakland. That's coming up this Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on Fox Sports Net. One away from Mike Matheny now. Matheny was a strikeout victim his first at-bat. 1 of 6 posted by Park tonight. Mike Matheny's May struggles really mirror what the team has done here in St. Louis. He had a red-hot May, or red-hot April, as you saw, but has scuffled in the second month of the season, as have the Cardinals. They've won just 3 of 10 here in May. Matheny batting under 100 this month. Big swing and a miss. The change in offense is dramatic between the first month and second month of the season. A .239 batting average so far in May. That home run pace is still strong. They're not scoring quite as many runs and subsequently not winning as many games.
And that coincides with Tatis going on the disabled list. He really makes a difference in the middle of the order, as you see that perfect pitch for Park to get Matheny on the outside part of the plate. That's what throwing so many good breaking balls will do. It sets you up. They look for it, and all of a sudden blast them with a fastball, and they can't pull the trigger. Here's this last pitch. Right on the money, right where Chad Kruder was looking for it.
Chan-Ho Park is flat dealing tonight. Here's Rick Ankiel with that big aggressive hack, a swing and a miss. Park has struck out 7 Cardinals tonight. His career high is 11. He's accomplished that twice in his career. And he's in front of Ankiel, 0-2.
Well, until Ankiel started to swing the bat the way he has this season, he would not have been pitched that carefully. These were 2 nasty fastballs on the outside part of the plate. And that's respect. Then a curveball. In the pitching fraternity, a lot of times, unless you're really in a tight spot, you don't see pitchers throw other pitchers breaking balls unless that hitter, the other opposing pitcher, had gotten hit against you earlier in the game. Then you're going to try to embarrass him a little bit.
Hitting over 400 is Ankiel through his at-bat tonight. Those stats no secret to Chan-Ho Park. Chan-Ho strikes out his 8th of the night. A season-high strikeout total for Chan-Ho Park, who is in fuego. 11 in a row laid down by Park. Excursion back with Jeff Torborg at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Kids have been looking for something to do. Foul ball, souvenirs, because this has been a pitcher's matchup, Jeff. You come into a game like this with Sean Green and Gary Sheffield and McGuire and Edmonds and company, and it turns into a night that Chan-Ho Park uses to shine.
You never know this game, do you? You never know. There's been so much talk this year about the increased offense, and certain people have nothing else to write about, so they make a big deal that it's hurting baseball. What a bunch of malarkey. I mean, everybody enjoys both types of games, it seems. I like to see a lot of offense. I like to see a well-pitched game like this.
Well, there certainly has been a lot said and a lot written about it. That's for sure. It has been fodder for columnists around the country.
Well, I was on a team, the 1965 Dodgers, that won a world championship batting .245. There were a lot of fans that followed those Dodger teams that liked those games, those 1-0, 2-1 games. Koufax, Drysdale, Osteen. Later on, Don Sutton, great bullpens. Watching the great Maury Wills control the game on the bases. Now, that was exciting baseball.
Oral Hershiser, who's working out of the bullpen for the Dodgers currently. Sean Green caught looking. Rick Ankiel trying to match Chan-Ho Park strikeout for strikeout.
Well, he talked earlier about how Sean Green had trouble with a big breaking ball, and here goes Ankiel throwing this big roundhouse. That's a roundhouse curveball that first starts up and then goes down. And Sean just, you can see, kind of gets what they call a jelly leg, and he just could not stay in there and just couldn't pull the trigger.
One gone for Gary Sheffield now. 7 strikeouts for Rick Ankiel. A couple of walks for Sheffield tonight. Leads the Dodgers with 25. Unusual that Gary Sheffield has, over the past couple of years, evolved into this Dodger team leader. There might have been those that followed his career early with the Brewers and maybe even at times with San Diego who never would have thought that he would evolve into that type of player. It's exactly what's happened.
Well, there's one thing about Gary Sheffield, besides the fact that he is a very talented player and very strong. You have to be strong to hit out of this type of stance he hits out of, with his wiggle on the bat and his spread stance. But he comes to play. This guy wants to win. He plays hard. So hard that he's been banged up a lot in his career. But look at this stance, spread out, wide open. Look at that hand action. And as I was saying earlier in the game, when he first came up, he didn't use this stance exclusively. He only went into the stance when he had 2 strikes on him, and we could not get him out when I was managing the White Sox when he got to the stance. So finally I told our pitchers, let's get him out before he gets 2 strikes. Make him hit the ball.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Sheffield here. Shot into the corner, foul. It's such an exaggerated stance. It blends the nervousness at the plate, or the apparent nervousness of a Joe Morgan, and the wide open stance so exaggerated almost to replicate Tony Batista's up there in Toronto. There is so many things to dissect when you look at that stance, and any kid watching this at home would not be serving himself very well if he tried to copy that.
No, kids are not going to be strong enough to hit out of this stance. The wiggle that he does over his head is amazing. What he's doing there is trying to get his hands to a position where they're cocked and ready to position himself. See how he wiggles so much, but he gets right into a hitting position. Now, every hitter has his own basic style, but then the technique to get to the hitting zone, if you ever watch these things in slow motion, the good hitters all get to the same place on contact, even though they started in different styles. But we were talking earlier about Jim Edmonds with a spread stance. Gary Sheffield has a spread stance. So does Jeff Bagwell with an extremely spread stance. Those guys are really strong.
Yeah. Mr. Sheffield, big swing and a miss. 8 strikeouts for Rick Ankiel. My goodness, this is one heck of a pitch game.
Well, both guys were slow in starting this game. They could not get their breaking ball over, but once they've gotten the breaking ball over, it's made all their pitches effective. Now here, this is just that fastball explodes right at the end that Dave Duncan was talking about, and Gary Sheffield can't catch up. That's just pure power against power there.
Eric Karros will prevent Ankiel from striking out the side in order. He reaches on a base hit. Just the 3rd hit of the night for the Dodgers.
Well, that was the old hanging breaking ball right there that Eric Karros didn't try to do too much with, but Rick Ankiel tried to get a strike with a breaking ball and just left that spinner up over the plate.
Ankiel approaching 100 pitches as we're here in the top half of the 6th inning with 2 gone and a man aboard.
Well, that's got to be a concern. You're talking about a 20-year-old. You've got to be concerned with pitch count. There are a lot of old pitchers that say that's a bunch of garbage. Who cares about the pitch count? But if you've seen some of the studies over the years about very young pitchers who have had a lot of pitches thrown early in their career and watched their careers come to an abrupt end early, that's why you keep count on the pitches.
But although he's made his way back to health in the big leagues, everybody learned a lesson from Kerry Wood a couple of years ago after he blew out. Threw a lot of pitches in college, threw a lot of pitches in the minors, threw even more pitches his rookie year in the major leagues in '98. Big swing and a miss by Adrian Beltre.
The likes of Doc Gooden. Doc ended up with surgery. I mean, there was one of the finest young pitchers ever to enter this game. And he was a strikeout leader. That means a lot of pitches. Here's that curveball that we were talking about. When you get it down, now this will make his fastball that much more explosive.
That one pops away from Mike Matheny. Karros advances to second.
Now, we talked about the pitch being explosive. It obviously was. It went right by Matheny. It was not supposed to be that high. But here we talked about the giddy up on his fastball right at the end. And look at this ball tail. See, it tailed away from Beltre and also from Matheny.
Cardinal catching core has been very good this year. A rare passed ball for Mike Matheny. 1-2 home to Beltre. Swung on and fouled away. Cardinal catching core has not committed an error this year, and that was only the second pass ball between Matheny and Marrero.
That was also a tough pass ball. That easily could have been a wild pitch. That ball was way up and away. He was lucky to get a glove on that ball.
A base hit can tie it with Karros at second base. 1-2 home, misses outside.
Now, what we might be seeing just a little bit, the last two pitchers were overthrown. And when a guy gets a little tired, he doesn't lose his stuff necessarily. He doesn't lose the velocity. Maybe he doesn't lose the break, but he loses his command a little bit. He's not as sharp because his legs are getting tired.
2-2 breaking ball, swung on and missed. Only a base hit by Karros prevented Ankiel from striking him out in order.
The type of pitches he used. There's a fastball that he strikes the first hitter out with, and then he finishes up with two fastballs, then another curveball, McGuire. There's another curveball, and he does the splits on it. Then a fastball, another fastball, and then a curveball. So he spread it around. 4 strikeouts on fastballs, 4 strikeouts on curveballs.
Been an impressive night of pitching tonight here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. 1-0 Cardinals as we set for the bottom half of inning number 6. 9 strikeouts by Cardinal left-hander Rick Ankiel. 8 tonight for Chan-Ho Park. Park has allowed only 2 hits. He struck out 6 of his last 7. And if you take away that first at-bat of the night by this guy, Fernando Vina, we're sitting deadlocked 0-0. Vina, Polanco, and Edmonds top of the order for the Cardinals here in their half of the 6th inning. Two balls and no strikes to Vina. Fernando Vina has done a magnificent job just getting on base for this Cardinal team. 5 bunt singles, 7 infield hits. He's been hit by a pitch 8 times this year. Only Richard Hidalgo has been hit more. That kind of thing keeps up, and Fernando Vina is going to make a run at Ron Hunt's record of being hit by a pitch 50 times in a season.
Well, you can watch the way he sets up as he takes a strike. His right shoulder, his front shoulder is really tucked in. And most guys who get hit like that turn the shoulder back in. They'll take that pitch for the club. Watch how his right shoulder's in. See how it's in, and he leans back in on every pitch. You can take some of those shots by just making them glancing blows. After a while, if the opposition starts to think, though, you're doing it on purpose, they'll make sure they bury it in a softer spot.
Payoff home to Vina, misses inside, ball 4. Just the second walk of the night by Chan-Ho Park. Monday on the X-Files, Mulder and Scully go undercover as a married couple to investigate mysterious deaths in a planned community. The X-Files, Monday night at 9 on FX. Leadoff hitter aboard for St. Louis in the 6th. That walk issued to Fernando Vina ends a string of 11 in a row set down by Park.
Well, the Dodgers are very aware now. Tony La Russa can be a very aggressive manager. He's in a situation where he's got a potential base stealer at first base. He's got a hitter at the plate who can put the ball in play. They can try a steal in this situation. They might hit and run. They just might make something happen, and they just bunt it. Playing it safe. Good bunt.
Polanco does his job. The sacrifice works. Vina to second. Score the out 1-4 with Grudzielanek covering. So Vina moves into scoring position with 1 away.
Well, here we were talking about all the big things, power and everything, but the inside of the game, Look at the angle of the bat. That's what it should be. You don't never want the head of the bat lower or the ball pops up. This is a great technique of bunting. Puts the ball on the first base side, and it's like he almost caught the ball with the bat, and that's the way you kill the spin on the ball. This is an excellent bunt. But again, we've been talking all game long about the power of the Cardinals, what they've done this year. That's the inside game, the little ball that you need to win with also. Tony's playing for that extra run now. His team got shut out 13-0 last night, and they're looking to try to, without a whole lot of offense, try to score some runs here.
Jim Edmonds with a chance. Vigna at second, one away. Big swing and a miss.
Now, we were talking earlier about Jim Edmonds. He has a unique type of stance where he's very widespread with his base, and he doesn't stride into the ball. He just kind of turns his front foot back a little when he goes to hit, and he shifts his weight back and then forward. Watch how wide he is. Now he's making sure now that he has a foothold with his back foot, but also a landing area or spinning area for his front foot. Now the great Joe DiMaggio was one of the great examples of hitters who stood with a widespread stance and didn't take much of a stride, if any. We see people like Bagwell now, and another guy that's going to go to the Hall of Fame, Paul Molitor, hit that way with a spread stance and very little movement with the front foot.
Some time taken now between Kruder and Park, similar to what had happened earlier in the ball game. The two want to make sure they're on the same page here.
Again, with a runner at second base, that's where they want to make sure of the sequence of signs that they are using.
Park had asked Kruder to roll over the signals a couple times, and then they just decided to talk about it.
Well, here's Edmonds' hit zone. You see he likes the ball in the middle of the plate, up and down. That's a strange looking hit zone. Usually a guy likes the ball down or up, but not right up through the middle.
0-1 to Edmonds, and Park in front of him now 0-2.
Now we'll take a look at what Jim Edmonds does when he approaches. Watch how the foot, just the heel lifts up. See the heel go up, and then he just turns the foot back in and then back down. He doesn't even lift it off the ground entirely, just the heel.
It's a far cry from the old Kirby Puckett step and hit, or the old the old foot in the bucket stance of some power hitters out there today.
Well, you know who it's a far cry from is Stan Musial, the great Cardinal Hall of Famer, who has a big statue out here right outside this stadium. He would turn in and had a lot of movement. There's Stan's number retired among all the other Hall of Fame retired numbers here.
Swing and a miss by Edmonds. 9 strikeouts by Chan-Ho Park tonight. He's approaching a career high. Speaking of strikeouts, Mark McGwire, the batter, he went down swinging in the 4th. And here's how it happened. McGwire to lead off.
So they started him inside with a sinker kind of fastball. They went back with a fastball away. And then a little breaking ball. And now a fastball away. They'll come back inside with a hanging breaking ball. They're not going to pitch too aggressively, I wouldn't think, with McGwire right here. I think they're going to pitch very carefully.
Big swing and a miss by Mack.
Well, not as carefully as I thought they would. That was a good hard fastball down 94 miles an hour, but I didn't think they'd give him with an open base anything to hit here.
That might be the best chance he'll have to hit a pitch in the at-bat. Vigna from second with 2 away. Chan-Ho Park trying to strand his third base runner of the night. Comebacker. A leadoff walk, but no trouble at all by Chan-Ho Park. Park has struck out 9 through 6. The Dodger right-hander is dealing in St. Louis. Busch Stadium in St. Louis has been a home run haven in the year 2000. But tonight, it has been starting pitching. A combined 18 strikeouts, 9 by each starter, as we head to the top of the 7th inning. Matt Vasgersian back to Jeff Torborg. Rick Ankiel and Chan-Ho Park have put on some show on the mound tonight. Ankiel continues as we open the top of the 7th, and it'll be the bottom third of Davy Johnson's lineup card. Chad Kruder, Jose Vizcaino, and then the pitcher's spot here in the 7th.
Boy, it's hard to imagine. We've been talking about all the offense that the Cardinals have shown this season, and they only have 4 hits in 2 nights.
One ball and 1 strike on Chad Kruder. We talk a lot about the Cardinal offensive attack and the home run record pace they're on. You know, not too far behind is the pace that LA's on. The Dodgers are on a pace for a franchise record, albeit it's not the kind of number that St. Louis is on pace for, a major league record. Well, this Dodger team is on a pace to outslug the 77 club that holds the record with 191 home runs as a franchise. Gary Sheffield will be right in the middle of that. Sluggers have been quiet tonight. 2-2 on Kruder. Big curveball misses outside.
Well, I don't know if it's just me watching, but it kind of all these years in the game just kind of watch the pitcher. It looks like Rick Ankiel's kind of hitting on stiff legs right now. Now he's liable to strike Kruder out with a fantastic pitch after I say that, but
instead it's a line drive base hit to left. In the interest of fairness, both starters have been outstanding tonight. Starting with Rick Ankiel.
Here's that big breaking ball that he uses to get the first 2 strikeouts, and then a running fastball inside, then another breaking ball, 2 breaking balls in the dirt, and a high riding fastball. And here again, Shawn Green seen that big breaking ball. Gary Sheffield can't catch up to the fastball, and then the last one, Beltrade, was a curveball. But right after saying what I said before, it looked like he's hitting a little bit on stiff legs, and that could mean that you're getting a little tired. With the next pitch, a base hit to left field, and all of a sudden the Cardinal bullpen is up, because Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa probably have seen the same thing.
He's approaching his longest major league outing. Made a handful of starts last year. This is his 7th this season. He's also approaching a career strikeout high. He struck out 10 against Milwaukee his 2nd start of the year, but the bullpen will be ready should he falter. Mike Mulder from the left side, Mike James from the right. A couple of former American League West guys, Mulder in XA, James in Ex-Angel. 0-1 to Jose Vizcaino. Chop to shortstop. Taylor made for 2. Renteria gets one himself and throws to McGuire for the 2nd.
Well, they say for the manager that the walks were what killed him, and that's what they put on his tombstone. Well, for the pitcher, they say his best friend is not a dog, but the double play. This is a breaking ball. Renteria takes it himself, and Ankiel has 2 outs.
So 2 gone, bases empty for Chan-Ho Park. 2 double plays behind Ankiel tonight, and both of them have come in tight spots. Most recently, not as tight as the double play that came behind him in the 2nd with the bases loaded. That one got him out of an inning. 2 balls and no strikes on Chan-Ho Park. Park 3 for 18 at the start of play. And you mentioned that he's one of the better hitters in the National League, Jeff. When he was growing up in Korea, he used to combat his fears and work on his hitting stroke at the same time by going to a cemetery after dark and swinging a bat against a practice tee for an hour. A rather unusual training regime, but certainly worked for him. I'm not making that up. You thought it was weird when Rocky went and hit sides of beef in the freezer. Well, here's a guy that used to go and do things in the cemetery. Full count to him now, 3-2. Full 1-0 count to the pitcher. Top of the order up next for the Dodgers. Chan-Ho keeps it alive. Rick Ankiel's longest in his career has been 7. His strikeout high 10. He is approaching both of those milestones here. 3-2 to Park is grounded back up the middle. Renteria's there to cut it off, and despite the leadoff base hit, the Dodgers go down in order in the 7th. 7 shutout innings tonight by lefty Rick Ankiel. 7th inning stretch, 1-0 Cards. Game summary from Busch Stadium tonight. 2 of the most potent offenses in the National League have combined tonight for 6 hits and a run. Fernando Vina's leadoff home run in the bottom of the 1st. That's it on the scoreboard. Rick Ankiel's been nasty. Struck out 9. And not to be outdone, right-hander Chan-Ho Park. He's also fanned 9 hitters. Park will continue in the bottom of the 7th inning as he draws a couple of left-handed hitters to start it. Cardinals offer Lankford, Drew, and Renteria, the 5, 6, and 7 batters for Tony La Russa. Davey Johnson, the only player to ever play with Hank Aaron and Sadaharu Oh. He's seen his share of home runs, but tonight is one of them old throwback pitchers battles.
Really is. It's what used to be the case coming into this stadium back when it was brand new in '66. Made me really feel old when you said earlier in the game that was 34 years ago.
Oh, I apologize about it.
But they were great. They were games like this when we come in here. You know, the Dodger teams of the 60s, the Dodgers won the World Championship in '63, '65, went to the World Series in '66. The years that the Dodgers didn't go to the World Series, the Cardinals did. They won in '64, '67, and '68.
And this is one of those year of the pitcher 1968 type nights here at Busch Stadium. They're all the world championships, most recently 1982. Whitey's running guys. Boy, we talked about that a little earlier. My, how the game has changed here in St. Louis in particular. Swing and a miss, 1 ball and 1 strike on Ray Lankford.
You know, this is one of the older ballparks now in Major League Baseball, and yet it's still beautiful. And even more beautiful with grass instead of artificial turf here.
Well, they can't pull that turf up fast enough as far as I'm concerned. There's a strike to Lankford, a ball and 2 strikes. There is talk of a new facility here in St. Louis. They unveiled plans 3 weeks ago for a new downtown ballpark, already being nicknamed the house that Mac built.
Huh.
Two balls and 2 strikes to count on Ray Lankford.
You're talking about the house that Mac built. He's already got his name on the freeway out here, Route 70.
Yeah, that's right.
Coming from the airport yesterday, said, wow, look at this.
A swing and a miss. 10 strikeouts for Chan-Ho Park tonight. He's 1 short of tying a career high. Some American League final scores from earlier today. Tigers have been off to a woeful start under Phil Garner. They double up the Yankees at home. That makes it 2 straight against the Pinstripers. In 12 innings, Cleveland outslugs Kansas City 7-6. David Justice with the game winner. Finally, it was the Red Sox beating the Orioles 5-1. Some West Coast scores as well, as the Mariners beat the Oakland A's 6-4. A-Rod with home run number 12. 2 high-powered offenses there. And Blue Jays doubled up the Devil Rays 8-4. 1 ball and 1 strike to count on J.D. Drew, batting with nobody on and 1 away. Drew has singled and struck out tonight. Grounded at first. That stays fair for Karros. Park is right there to field at the bag, and there are 2 away. The Dodger bullpen has been a pretty quiet place tonight, but there's some activity down there for the first time all evening. The Bulldog, as Tommy Lasorda used to call him, veteran Oral Hershiser. Hershiser working out of the bullpen earlier in this season than he has in any season before it. He's worked out of the bullpen before, but usually starts the year in the rotation. Might come out of the bullpen later for a pennant drive. He is a reliever here this year for manager Davey Johnson. Make no mistake about that.
You know, Matt, the old adage of never having enough pitching, and with the season going the way it is with all the offense, before it's over, he's liable to be back in Davey's rotation.
You bet. Nothing in one on Edgar Renteria. Renteria, one of those Cardinals, re-upped recently by Walt Jocketty, guy who put himself on the map in 1997 in just his second year as a big leaguer. World Series game-winning hit in Game 7 against Charles Nagy. Fish beat the Indians 3-2 and won the World Championship a couple of years ago. Renteria certainly a big part of that club.
Well, if you look at Renteria swinging the bat, you can see the influence of Gary Sheffield. They were teammates on that Florida World Championship team. And Renteria, even as a young kid, liked what Sheffield was doing, and he does that wiggle with the bat, with the head of the bat goes back toward the pitcher.
Popped him up. Grudzielanek out there from second to put it away. Another 1-2-3 inning for Chan-Ho Park. We head to the 8th at Busch tonight. This is a good one. Top of the order for the Dodgers as we go to the 8th. We go to the top of the 8th inning tonight, and a great start is over for Rick Ankiel as he goes 7 very strong innings, allows 4 hits, walked 4, K'd 9. He threw 118 pitches, and he has been under a watchful eye every time he's taken the mound this year. He gets to 118 pitches, and Dave Duncan says he's had enough. A great start by Rick Ankiel. He gives way in favor of veteran left-hander Mike Moeller.
Moeller, 31 years of age, having pitched, as you mentioned earlier, Matt, for Tony La Russa over with the Oakland organization. That earned run average doesn't look real good. 20 hits, more hits in innings pitched for a reliever is tough, and actually double strikeouts with walks. Those are not real good numbers, but he's left-handed, and that's a big key this day. Boy, you see everybody in need of a left-hander coming out of the bullpen. He made 48 appearances last year for St. Louis, but the numbers are not real good, and you can see why they are really waiting for Scott Radinsky and Jesse Orozco to get healthy. They really need help in their bullpen.
2 lefties in the current bullpen for Tony La Russa. Young left-hander Justin Brunette, the other just 24 years old. So it's really up to Moeller to bear the brunt of the lefty innings out of the bullpen in the absence of Orozco and Radinsky. The Dodgers have the top of the order to face him here in the 8th. Santangelo, Grudzielanek, and Green. 1 ball and 1 strike on FP Santangelo. Mike Moeller's appeared in a team-high 18 games, make it 19 counting tonight, including 12 of the last 20. You've seen a lot of work, and Santangelo takes one for the team. Just what you were talking about, Jeff. You lean into it with the shoulder, and you're at first base.
Yeah, if you got the guts to take a hit, you know, but if there's a little art to it, is if you lean your shoulder in and then pull it back out again, you stay in. See how he stayed in. He saw it coming at him and stayed in. You were right. What a good call. He took this for the club. I mean, if he didn't want to get hit here, he sits down.
Lean into it, Rudy. You want to win, don't you? Engelberg's up next. He's murdering the ball. Here's Mark Grudzielanek now. Santangelo aboard. Cardinals cheat the corners in just a bit. Polanco in at the grass at third. The Dodgers have not been without chances to score tonight. They had the bases loaded in the second with 1 away. Had them loaded in the third with 2 out. And with Santangelo drawing a base to start the 8th, he's just their 3rd base runner since that second bases loaded opportunity early in the contest.
And if you have a question of why the Dodgers might not have attempted to bunt before this in this at-bat, most managers do not play for a tie on the road. And of course they also are in the front end of their order, but a lot of clubs, if you felt you're not generating much offense, would try to get that runner in the scoring position. But it's almost that gut feeling of not tying on the road.
Grudzielanek tried to check it, and he did, says Bruce Fremming on the appeal.
Well, he got some boos from the crowd because he went with an effort like he was going to go, and Normally the umpires are right on this call, because this is a tough call. By the naked eye, it looks like they sometimes hold up, but almost always the umpire is right on the money, whether he went through across the plate or not.
Grounded back up the middle and through. A base hit for Grudge, his first of the night. And the Dodgers are putting something together against the St. Louis bullpen. Runners at first and second with nobody out.
Here we talked about how this game is a game of inches when he was not called for a strike, or a swing, I should say, and he gets the ball in the inner half of the plate and forces it through the middle. The pitch was on the inner half of the plate, and he got his hands inside it. That's a nice piece of hitting. He had 2 strikes on him and put that ball in play right through the middle. Boy, that is an art when the hitting coaches preach forever to use the middle of the field. That's one of the reasons when they have the middle infielders have to go and try to catch that ball. Even if they do catch the ball behind the base, sometimes they're not able to make a play on it, and it also allows a hitter to use both sides of the plate if they're thinking in the middle of the field.
Here's Sean Green now, runners at first and second, and as you saw a moment ago, Green can hit southpaws. And there's bullpen activity now behind Moeller. Cardinals have propped up their closer, right-hander Dave Beers. These have been problem spots for St. Louis all year long, and going back for the past couple of years here under Tony La Russa. 2-0 to Green.
Well, it's a left-handed pitcher against a left-handed hitter. Take a look at his hot zone. You can see where you can get him out. You can get him out up and in and low and in. It's on the extremes, but watch out where he gets his hands extended out over the plate.
It was last year that Sean Green really turned the corner against left-handed pitching. Had been a career .240 hitter against lefties until he hit .280 last season against southpaws.
Well, this will most likely, unless something big happens, would be Moeller's last hitter. Veers would be ready for the right-handers after him.
Went around that time. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Now the Cardinals have fed Sean Green a steady diet of breaking balls. Shown him the fastball and then breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball. Now this is where he probably should get another one, because you have a cushion of 1 pitch if you're Mike Moeller here. Meaning if you miss with a curveball, you're 3-2, and you can still come back and try to paint with a fastball.
He misses and does go 3-2. A tight spot here for Moeller. Nobody out, runners at first and second for the Dodgers, trying to put something together for the first time against St. Louis pitching since the 3rd inning tonight. Santangelo at second. Krudzelanic at first. Pretty good speed out there for L.A. Took something off that pitch and just missed inside. Ball 4 to Green. How about Moeller going to the breaking ball on full count?
Hey, he kind of did it backwards, what I thought he would do. I thought he'd go 2-2 with it. Now this is a 3-2 count. And then they go to the breaking ball. That is a little bit backwards, frankly, but they were being careful. You know what they're booing right now? They're booing Tony La Russa, and one of the reasons they're booing him is because they didn't want to see Ankiel come out. Fans oftentimes don't think about what the managers have to think about. Tony's coming out to talk to the umpire because he's going to make a double switch. You've got to stop the umpire to do that, and now Dave Duncan's going to the mound. But Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa have to think about the future of young Rick Ankiel. 118 pitches, a lot of pitch for a young arm. A lot of pitches, I should say. Well, now when your bullpen doesn't do the job, this is what happens.
Pitching change for the Cardinals. The Dodgers have loaded them with nobody out. We'll be right back. Both bullpens have struggled, and as bad as the Dodger bullpen has been going of late, St. Louis, their problems have been even more magnified. Just 1-6 in relief with a 5.62 bullpen ERA. Tony La Russa pulls a double switch to bring Veers into the ball game. Defensively, he also inserts Thomas Howard in right in place of J.D. Drew. And they go to their closer maybe a bit earlier than they would like to have. It is right-hander Dave Beers here in the 8th.
Well, Veers really came of age, and that's kind of tough to say at 33 years of age. But last year, with the kind of stuff that you see in this scouting report, good fastball, and one of the best splitters in the major leagues with a hard slider, quick to the plate, good fielder, but he got his chance to close last year with Colorado and did it 31 times. Was then traded over to the Cardinals. He's a real tough guy. He's just asking the umpire, because it's a little cool out here right now, whether he can blow in his hand. They said no, so that's why he walked off the mound. You cannot go to your mouth or blow in your hands being on the dirt of the pitcher's mound.
Gary Sheffield just 1 for 13 lifetime against the Cardinal right-hander, who starts Sheffield with a pitch outside, 1-0. Dodgers have Santangelo at second, Grudzielanek at second, Santangelo at third rather, and Green the runner at first. Loaded for the Dodgers for the third time tonight. Nobody out here in the eighth, and it's 2-0 to Sheffield.
Oh boy, this is dangerous if you're the Cardinals. Veers likes to throw that sinker down. He'd like to get the ball down in the strike zone, and he's just got these last two up.
Sheffield, the author of 6 career grand slams, a .282 hitter with the bags full. Most recently salamied last year against the Phillies. 2-0 to Sheffield, popped him up. Placido Polanco tracking it, and that's a huge out for Dave Veers.
Well, Gary Sheffield was so anxious to try to help his ball club that he chased a bad ball. This was off the plate on the inner part of the plate, and he pops it up. Take a look at this. See where the ball is? It's on. If it's on the plate at all, it's on the inside corner. Gary knows that he missed the pitch, and it really was not where he wanted it. He likes the ball from the middle in, but not there.
So there's one away now for Eric Karros. Karros has stranded 4 base runners. He lined out to end the third with the bases loaded. Has another crack at it here against Veers.
Now, if you're Tony La Russa, you're hoping that Dave Veers, your closer, can keep the ball down in the zone, get a little action down there, and you get a ground ball and possibly a double play.
Big swing and a miss, 1-1.
Now, that was a split finger. We talked about in the scouting report that he has an outstanding split finger. And what makes a changeup or a split finger effective is the arm action. You can see that had action. The bottom fell out of that. If your arm comes through on every pitch like it's a fastball, it makes your off-speed stuff more effective.
And that was one of the pitches that really didn't work for Dave Veers in Colorado last year. His ERA at home was blown up compared to what he did on the road. 7.40 at Coors Field, just 2.52 away from home. That put him at the top of the wish list for the Cardinals this year. Karros fouls one back, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Again, the bases are loaded for the Dodgers. Santangelo, Grudzielanek, and Green. Great speed out there for Los Angeles. Two balls and 2 strikes to 10-year veteran Eric Karros. Veers set the 2-2. Skips in the dirt. Matheny has to block it to prevent anybody from moving up.
We talked about the little things of the game. We talked about being able to bunt or run over. This is one of those basic things in the game of baseball that nobody really credits with any sort of column in the scorebook. But this just saved a run. I mean, that's like an RBI. Makes a great play. That's a tough ball to block. Anything that bounces that far out in front of you, you know, it's up around your head and you don't have much chance to block it. That was a terrific play.
Something's got to give to Karros here. Instead, he fouls it away. Count stays at 3-2.
What we were talking about, if you have a pitch that's so wild in the dirt that it's way out in front of the plate and you go down to block it on both knees, sometimes it bounces over your head. So you have to kind of stay a little taller, and that's what Matheny did. He almost knocked it down with it by hunching his shoulder and having the ball hit off his shoulder and his mask.
Bases loaded, 1 away. 1-0 St. Louis. The next 3-2 home to Karros. There's a drive well hit into right. Thomas Howard on his horse. Edmonds is there. The Gold Glover puts it away. It's enough to tag and score Santangelo. Sacrifice fly and an RBI for Karros, and this ball game is knotted up at 1 apiece.
Well, you can see our in sync here. You can see Santangelo waiting for the ball to be caught. He had the right foot on the base, almost like a sprinter would out of the blocks, watching and making sure that he did not go until that ball was touched by Jim Edmonds in center field.
So now 2 gone runners at the corners as Grudzielanek also advanced on the play. A run in. It's tied it here in the 8th. Beltre's 1 for 3 tonight. He singled in the 2nd against Ankiel. Another one spiked in the dirt by Veers.
There's a play, another nice play by Matheny, but I really believe a runner at first base, when he sees the ball going into the dirt in a 1st and 3rd situation like this, he can almost walk to second base. So you saw what Matheny did. He blocked it, but he looked at third base first. The cardinal rule is you block the ball to keep the runner at third. Sean Green on that, he could have walked into second base.
1-0 to Beltre. 2 balls and no strikes. There's nobody up in the Cardinal bullpen behind Veers. La Russa's got the guy he wants out there currently. Forced to go to his closer a bit early. Davy Johnson's bunch has tied it here in the 8th.
Of course, that's the reason for that double switch, too. When you put Thomas Howard in right field, he hits in the 9th spot. And Veers, the pitcher, went into J.D. Drew's spot. And that's the move. That's what you see so often in the National League, that double switch. That way your pitcher won't hit where he normally would have.
2 balls and no strikes to Beltre. Chad Kruder scheduled to hit next. Veers misses high to 3-0 now. The switch hitter Kruder has a base hit tonight. Should have come down to him. He'll hit left-handed against Veers. Here's the 3-0 to Beltre, taking all the way, and Veers delivers a strike.
I don't think you'll see Sean Green run, but some managers will run a good base runner in this situation as though it were almost a hit and run situation. As a hitter, probably will go after the ball if it's near the plate. If not, the runner walks into second.
Beltre lines to right, hit it hard, but right at Thomas Howard, who gobbles it up. Dodgers loaded the bases with nobody out. They'll settle with 1 in the 8th. Middle of the 8th. This one's tied up 1 apiece. And 2 away. Adrian Beltre up there against Dave Veers, and you can't hit it any harder than this.
Well, as you see him hit a rocket to right field, you'll see the emotions in the Dodger dugout. Watch him there, watching the ball in, the line drive to right, and then, shoot.
The Dodgers do tie it up, however, and it's locked up 1 apiece as we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning. Chan-Ho Park given an opportunity to continue. He has been outstanding tonight.
Well, we've seen a very well pitched game, and Chan-Ho Park has really shown more control than he has the whole season long. His numbers were not good, more walks than strikeouts, but tonight he's been on the money.
It'll be Mike Matheny, Thomas Howard, and Fernando Vina against Chan-Ho Park here, bottom 8.
And that's a good idea by Matheny. He had Beltre back at third base. And if you've got a catcher who a lot of people will play deep on because they don't think they run well, can lay down a bunt. You can do it to lead off an inning. You can do it with a runner at third when nobody expects it. It really is a weapon.
Swing and a miss, 0-2. Chan-Ho Park has topped 100 pitches up to 102.
Well, after struggling a little bit in the early innings, he's been on the money with his strikes.
Strikes out Mike Matheny. Tomorrow on FX Major Movie Sunday, Christy Swanson stars with Luke Perry in the original teen thriller that started the television phenomenon, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Tomorrow night at 9 on FX Major Movie Sunday. Chenho Park has tied his career high in strikeouts, posting his 11th to open the bottom of the 8th. 11 strikeouts for Park. Now, this is a guy who throughout his 6-year major league career has averaged almost 8.5 strikeouts a start. Certainly he has the stuff.
Well, what we've also seen, Matt, is that the pitch before that last one was 94 miles an hour. He hasn't lost anything off his pitches. And in fact, his command has stayed together, even though he just threw that one in the dirt.
One ball and one strike to count on Thomas Howard. The last time Chenho Park fanned 11, it was in July of 1998 at Arizona against the expansion Diamondbacks. The 98 Diamondbacks finished last in the National League West. Not nearly the offensive team that the Y2K Cardinals are. For the first time tonight, there are a couple of guys standing. Notice we didn't say throwing, standing in the bullpen. Howard pops to center. F.B. Santangelo has it. 2 away.
Well, here's this last swing by Thomas Howard. And you can see he comes off the ball and he shouts as he does. He knows he missed it. He didn't stay on the ball. He pulled off it and released with his top hand too soon. Thomas Howard likes that fastball, and he was looking for one there. That had a little tail on it. And he caused him to pull off the pitch just a little bit.
Here's Fernando Vina now. His bottom of the first inning leadoff home run. The only score that the Cardinals have been able to muster against Park tonight. Vina was recently re-upped here to stay in St. Louis. Signed a 3-year extension recently. They are locking people up over here, I'll tell you. Jim Edmonds signs the 6-year contract yesterday. Edgar Renteria re-upped this year. Vina has re-upped this season. 2-0 from Park. Now to 3 balls and no strikes.
Ooh, this is not something, if you're the Dodgers, that you would feel comfortable with. As you got Vina, if he walks here, is the ability to steal a base.
There's ball 4 to Vina. Park has issued just 3 walks tonight, and twice it's been to Vina.
Matt, I'm sorry for interrupting, but let's see if he's turned loose here. Dave McKay, the first base coach, is over talking to him. We mentioned earlier they have the times on him. A little ploy that a hitter can use if he knows the runner is running and trying to steal a base is go out like he's going to fake a bunt and pull the bat back and keep the catcher back. Chenho Park has had some game tonight. 11 strikeouts. He's pitched. This is his 8th start, and he only had 24 strikeouts going into this.
But what's got to be just as pleasing to the Dodgers, to Claude Osteen in particular, his pitching coach. Only 3 walks, and he started play tonight with more walks than strikeouts. And he's going to keep his eye on Vina. Almost overthrew it.
Well, now this is where the inside of the game really gets exciting. You've got the Dodgers trying to watch the body language of Vina at first base, the runner, to see how big a lead he gets, what kind of body action he shows him. You'll probably see some other types. Oh, no, he goes right to the plate with the ball. Normally what you'll see a team do when they're trying to defend against a good base runner is give them just about everything you've got. Step off, hold the ball on the mound, a quick slide step, and maybe a step off and then a throw over. So the runner is just, what you're really doing is planting a seed in his mind that they're watching him.
Polanco takes his strike count 1-1.
Now on the first 2 pitches, Fernando Vina didn't have as long a lead as you would think he would want if he's going to try to steal. Now, the cutouts are a little different in most parks, but he's got to be about 2 feet out farther than where he is now, over almost to the cut. See, he got back too easily. Maury Wills, a great Dodger base stealer and now a teacher of base stealing, had different types of leads. One-way lead, we got way out and he had to get back, but he felt if he had to take 1 step and dive, that wasn't enough. He's got to get more.
Been caught twice in 7 attempts this year as Fernando Vina. Stole a career-high 22 2 years ago with the Brewers. A swing and a miss, a ball and 2 strikes on Placido Polanco.
Well, this is just a high fastball with a lot of heat still on it this late in the game. Throwing the ball hard.
Park still clocked at 94 miles an hour, right where he was when he began the night. 1-2 to Polanco. Swung on and lined to right. Polanco just threw the bat out there and lines a base hit to right field. Green's throw to third. Not in time to get Vina. Adrian Beltre did a heck of a job to prevent that ball from getting past him.
Matt, beyond that, not only to make a good play, I don't know if he was decoying when he rolled over. It hit part of his thumb, it looks like. Got a little bit of his thumb when the hop came in. But he rolled over. Either it knocked the wind out of him or he was decoying like it went by him. Now here's the pitch. That's not even a strike. That's about 4 inches off the plate. Polanco just drops it in the right. I didn't think there was going to be any play at third. Sean Green has that rifle. He throws it in, but yeah, here comes the throw. You can see where the runner Vina rounds the base, and here's the throw, and the runner coming at the same time. No, that was not a decoy. Here comes the runner. That was not a decoy by Beltre. That ball hit him in the breadbasket and took some wind away from him. It was not a decoy like he missed it. Matt, you made a great call on that because that ball was shielded by the runner coming in. Beltre caught the ball after it passed behind the runner. That's a tough play.
The steady defense by the 20-year-old third baseman keeps it tied for the time being. The inning stays alive for Jim Edmonds, who has been quiet tonight. First pitch from Park is fouled away.
Well, Park has struck Edmonds out twice on balls that were not strikes. They were from the inside corner in on Edmonds. He's gotten them out inside. You pitch Edmonds out over the plate, and with that spread stance, he shoots the ball the other way. But he tied him up the last 2 at-bats and struck him out both times.
Tried to check it. They appeal down to third base. Fields and Culbreath said he swung the bat, and it goes to 0-2 on Edmonds.
Now, just as we were talking about, they went back to the well again. They threw the ball inside. And Jim Edmonds could not hold up, and the head of the bat did come back over the plate. Do they go back in again? They've got a couple pitches to fool with here. They can try to bounce a ball, except there's a runner at third base, or they can go right back inside. That's where they're going, up and in.
A ball and 2 strikes on Edmonds now as that fastball missed high. The Cardinals are very quick on the bases for Edmonds with 2 away, with Vina at third, Polanco at first.
Well, if you watch our camera shot from center field and you watch Chad Kreuter, the veteran catcher, he'll give you an idea what they're going to try to do, because when he went to go inside, he went way in. That's what you want your pitcher to do. The ball didn't get there, but he was trying to make sure if they were going to miss in, they miss way in. Here they go again. No, this is back to a breaking ball now.
Park from the stretch, the 1-2 to Edmonds. Fouls it away to stay alive.
Well, you can see the set of signs he's using. When he uses one finger and points, he's pointing location. The first sign he gave to Chan-Ho Park was that he wanted the fastball in. Park shook it off, and they went back to a curveball. They didn't have to hide the signs too much. There's no runner at second base, but sometimes when you see a breaking ball given in no location, people will go off the location. They say there's no location. It's an off-speed pitch. Curveball again.
The next 1-2 to Edmonds is swung on and ripped into the corner, hooking foul. Pulled it just a bit too much, and the count stays at 1-2. The Dodger bullpen is busy behind Chan-Ho Park for a couple of reasons.
We saw the Dodger dugout before. You saw the Cardinal dugout. They can't see down that line. They all jumped up out of the dugout to see what was going on.
Trying to put some of that Carlton Fisk-like body English on it. Runners at the corners. Still 1-2 to Edmonds. And he wants time. Edmonds is a cool customer. Never been one to show a lot of emotion. So we mentioned the Dodger bullpen is busy. Matt Hergis and Onan Masaoka. Masaoka just back up from AAA Albuquerque. And it's 2-2 now. This is an important hitter for the obvious reason. There's 2 out. Runners at the corners. We're tied at 1s in the bottom of the 8th. Just as important is the man on deck. Even if Edmonds draws a base, say on the base on balls to load him, you just don't want to face McGuire at all here. Two balls and 2 strikes. Got him swinging. Chan-Ho Park with a career-high 12 strikeouts. That one huge. He gets Edmonds 3 times, leaves a couple of runners in the 8th. We go to the 9th, and this one's still tied up 1 apiece. Last 2 times out, Chan-Ho Park has absolutely dealt tonight. 12 strikeouts in 8 innings. Here's the 12th.
Well, a straight downer curveball, and on his 122nd pitch, you can see from the side, Jim Edmonds has stayed on the ball with his head, but this curveball is too sharp and has too much motion to catch up to.
Dodgers have the bottom third of their order here in the 9th. Chad Kreuter leads it off. Kreuter, Vizcaino, then the pitcher spot. A 1-1 tie through 8. What a dandy of a ball game tonight. And it's only appropriate, Jeff, that the Dodgers and Cardinals should be tied at 1s as we enter the 9th inning. These 2 teams have met 206 times, each having won 103 here at Busch Stadium. Talk about an even series. My goodness. Transcending generations. Kreuter takes a look at his strike 2 and 1.
You know, it's interesting. On FX last Saturday, we had the Cardinals against Cincinnati. Darryl Kyle with a great curveball against Rob Bell, who had an excellent curveball. And tonight, both Rick Ankiel, the young left-hander, and Chan-Ho Park have had outstanding breaking balls. And then you have the type of game that we've had, or games. The curveball for a while had been a pitch that a lot of people have gone away from. One of the reasons being the concern over the limited strike zone. That's tough to get a big curveball down into that strike zone. But you're seeing more and more now of the real good downer curveball.
A strike to Kreuter, count full, down 3-2. There's ball 4 to Chad Kreuter.
So here we're in a situation now. You will see Vizcaino, I would think, sacrifice the runner over, and it might be a pinch runner for the catcher. I'm not sure. I think they decided to stay with Kreuter.
They've decided to stay with Kreuter, but they will pinch hit for the pitcher due up next. For now, it's Jose Vizcaino. Lays down the bunt. Veers thinks about second, gets the runner at first base. So Vizcaino's retired. The sacrifice works. Kreuter advances into scoring position now.
You know, I was a little surprised on this bunt. That wasn't a real good bunt. That was bunted right back at the mound. Dave Veers didn't quite get off the mound the way you would like. A ball bunted that hard right back at the mound should give you an opportunity to force a runner at second base, and they didn't quite make it. Watch the bunt. Here's the bunt. It's bunted straight back pretty hard to the mound. There should be a play at second. That's a play that's called by the catcher, and the pitcher should come up throwing. That was a mistake by the Dodgers, by Dave Veers. He should have come up throwing towards second base.
Dodgers will send up pinch hitter Dave Hansen. Hansen batting in the pitcher's spot. He's LA's John Vanderwall, if you will. Career .279 pinch hitter with 7 home runs. He's a good one off the bench, has been his entire career. This year as a pinch hitter, Dave Hansen's got 2 hits and 8 at-bats off the bench. That includes a home run and 3 driven in. Only Manny Mota has accomplished more pinch hits than Dave Hansen in Dodger history. 2 balls and a strike.
And Manny Mota is still on this coaching staff. Manny Mota has been a part of the Dodger family for a lot of years after getting traded to the Dodgers when Maury Wills returned to the Dodgers from Montreal in 1970.
2-1 to Hansen, a base hit back up the middle. Renteria knocks it down. It keeps Kruder at third. If that ball gets through, it may score a run. In knocking it down, Renteria beat himself up a little bit as it bounded off his glove onto the dirt and right into Busch.
Boy, he took one for the team. He dove for that ball, as you mentioned. It came up and hit him in the face. Remember who the runner was. We talked about a potential pinch runner. It's Chad Kruder, the catcher. Now, if you had had a pinch runner who had a little speed, he might have scored on that play. But here's the ball Dave Hansen hit back through the middle. Edgar Renteria saves a run. See, he comes off his glove and comes up and hits him in the nose. And he still stayed after the ball, not worrying about the ache he had in his face. This is a nice play, and here's Kruder. You'll see Chad doesn't run real well, a big catcher. He rounds third base, and the ball is within range of Renteria, so he has to hold up.
They're attending to Renteria. Trainer Barry Weinberg is on hand. Been on Tony La Russa's staff ever since the Oakland days.
And one of the things that you think about and why Dave Johnson probably did not use a pinch runner is he's only got 2 catchers. So you always worry about taking one of your catchers out, putting the other one in, and what happens if that guy gets hurt? Then you have to put a non-catcher behind the plate. It's always a concern.
Well, runners at the corners for Los Angeles now. Only 1 away. And should the Dodgers go ahead and get something done offensively here, you'll see this man, right-hander Jeff Shaw, to try and close it out. Shaw's had good save totals for the Dodgers each of the past couple of years. We talk about the all-time series between the Dodgers and Cardinals. It has been a great one. And the year 2000 certainly is not the only season it's featured a lot of star power. Cardinals lead the all-time series, and look how even this is. 9-14 to 9-10. And these 2 teams have split 206 games at Busch Stadium. That is unbelievable.
2 great franchises. Of course, the Cardinal franchise is so strong through the 30s and 40s, and then again in the 60s. And winning again in the 80s.
A pinch hitter now for Santangelo. Todd Hollandsworth, who got the night off to start, pinch hitting atop the lineup card. He offers at the first pitch from Veers with a swing and a miss. With the injury to Devon White in center field, and he's got a rotator cuff problem with the right shoulder, might require surgery. It's possible that Devon White might miss the rest of the year. Todd Hollandsworth all of a sudden has become a very important man for Davey Johnson. Dodgers resisted trading him all winter as an insurance policy in the outfield. He's getting an opportunity here as a pinch hitter and is quickly behind 0-2.
Well, you just saw 2 of the best split fingers you'll see in the game. The ball just dives away from Hollandsworth. He doesn't have a chance on these pitches. It starts up about belt high. At least it looks like it's there. And by the time it finishes, see how the bottom falls out of it.
Dodgers are just looking for a fly ball here off the bat of Hollingsworth. The 0-2 pitch misses low and away.
Well, what Veers and Matheny are looking for here is a strikeout if they can get it, and at very worst a ground ball double play ball if they can get it. That's why everything is down. In the old days, the old spitball had this kind of action.
Ball and 2 strikes on the pinch hitter Hollingsworth. A swing and a miss. Huge strikeout for Dave Veers.
Yes, it was huge. He's got his split finger really working now. The first inning he came in, he didn't. Everything was up, and now the ball, the bottom is falling out of these. It's like there's a string attached, and the catcher's pulling it down. Often worried as a coach and a manager, and even when I was catching, that you got the tough out with fewer than 2 outs and a runner at third, and now with 2 outs, you just cannot relax any.
Mark Grudzielanek, the batter, and he takes his strike. The Dodgers second baseman has a base hit in 3 and 4 trips to the plate tonight.
Now, if you're Grudzielanek right now, you've got to look for that split finger and try to make it elevated a little.
Behind 0-2.
That's 5 in a row. He's going to his bread and butter. Why not? The game's on the line here.
Kruder, the runner at third. Dave Hansen at first. 0-2 on Grudzielanek. Checked it. Did he go around? Bruce Fremming says no.
Well, that's the second big call with Grudzielanek holding up on a swing. Remember, when the Dodgers scored, it was after it looked like Grudzielanek might have been struck out. And he does hold up. Bruce Fremming is right. You can see the head of the bat doesn't come across the plate. Davey Johnson's heart stopped for a minute as he blinked there.
You'd never know it, though. Here's a 1-2. Swung on and foul tipped at the dirt. 48,372 here at Busch Stadium tonight. Thought he struck out.
Well, if you're watching the signs that Matheny's given, that number 2 is the split finger. And that's all you've seen for the last 7 or 8 pitches. Oh, now they go. Now back to the 2, back to 1. Oh, they're changing up here. They're going to go to a fastball inside.
And it stays high. 2 balls and 2 strikes. There's a left-handed hitter on deck for Los Angeles. Davey Johnson would love to get the game in the hands of Sean Green against the right-hander Veers. Right now it's up to Grudzielanek. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Grounded past the diving Placido Polanco. Kruder scores. Hansen on his way to third. They're going to wheel him home. Dave Hansen bopping along scores the second run. And the Dodgers take a 2-run lead. Grudzielanek's trying to score as the ball got tied up in the corner, but he's being sent back to third. We're going to have to take a look at this again, because when Ray Lankford went to get it in the corner, he stayed there for an awfully long time.
You know, it almost looked like he went to throw the ball, and a fan reached out and took his relay throw. That's all I can figure. The ball disappeared after he went in the corner. Glenn Hoffman, the third base coach, was waving all the runners around, even Grudzielanek, but the umpire put him back. We'll see what happened here. Here's the split finger that doesn't dive. It stays in the middle of the plate, and Grudzielanek hits it down inside third base. Here comes Lankford coming over. He got to go way over in the corner to get it. He comes up throwing. Let's see if somebody grabs this ball. What happens to this ball? He throws it in the seats.
Threw it into
the stands. It went to the seats right in behind that fan in there. I wondered. I saw him throw the ball, but I didn't see where it went. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I was just going to ask you, Mr. 50-plus years in the game, have you ever seen that?
50
My heavens.
No, I haven't seen it.
Unbelievable.
Gee.
Ray Lankford went to get that ball in the corner, and he dropped it into the front row of the left field seats. Davy Johnson does get Sean Green an at-bat. That one's bounced to first. McGuire handles it himself, but the damage is done. A 2-run extra base hit off the bat of Mark Grudzielanek. The Dodgers play 2 to take a lead to the bottom of the 9th. McGuire, Lankford, and Drew will have one last say-so for the Cardinals. I certainly, in my much more limited time around this game than you, Mr. Torborg, have ever seen anything like what we saw in the top of the 9th.
I agree with you. This ball going down in the corner. Ray Lankford picks it up and tries to make a relay throw to third base, and he hits this fan right here. He hits him in the back with the ball when the ball comes in. Look at that.
My goodness.
That fan wasn't even facing the ball. He was looking toward the plate, and he got hit in the back. The Dodgers are watching. They don't know what the heck happened.
They're waiting for the throw to come out of the corner somewhere, and then meanwhile it hit that guy in the keister.
Well, yesterday in a basketball game, we saw a ball shot over the backboard that counted, and here it hit this kid in the back. I just hope that boy got the chance to get the ball after it hit him.
Is that the kid that it hit right there?
I believe that's him, with the red collar and the dark jacket.
Congratulations, young man. You have made it on national television.
Except he's a Cardinal fan.
Forget about that Jeffrey Mayer kid taking a home run in that Yankees-Orioles series. That guy just got one in the rear end from the outfield. Jeff Shaw is on to try and close it here in the 9th.
Gosh, we talk about taking one for the club. We didn't realize that a Cardinal fan took one in the seat.
Oh, my. The Dodgers play 2 to take a 9th-inning lead. It's McGuire, Lankford, and Drew that'll have hacks against Shaw here in the bottom of the 9th. McGuire is hitless tonight so far. And if you're wondering how to score that play, we're told that that ball hit by Grudzielanek in the corner is scored as a 2-run double. He advances to third on the throwing error by Lankford that hit that fan. Kruder sets up inside, and McGuire's rung up.
This is nearly a perfect pitch from Jeff Shaw to McGuire. He knows it is, too. It ball is right on the inner half of the plate. Watch where Kruder sets up. Hits the glove right on the money. Boy, now steps in. There you see that again. Has a little action, and the ball comes back on the plate a little bit. But Ray Lankford steps in. What a game he's had. He struck out 3 times, and now he just threw a ball into the seats.
Base is empty. 1 away for Lankford. We have seen a little bit of everything tonight, Jeff. Great pitched ball game. And Lankford grounds to shortstop. Vizcaino gobbles it up, and Lankford is retired. The executive producers of FX Baseball Saturday Night are Arthur Smith and Bill Borson. Coordinating producer of FX Baseball Saturday Night is Larry Myers. Tonight's game was produced by Jim Zrake and directed by Dave Hagan. Head of field operations is Andrea Jenkins. Jeff Shaw is 1 at-bat away from closing out a 2nd consecutive Dodger victory here in St. Louis. He's going to have to go through a pinch hitter to do it. Veteran Sean Dunston will bat with 2 out, nobody on here in the bottom of the 9th.
Well, until we saw that freak play, we saw a beautifully pitched game, outstanding defense, and then one crazy play right at the end of the game. Those runs, at least one of them was going to score anyway, but probably both. That's why they gave him the 2 RBIs, I should say, on the double. Grudzielanek.
Dunston lines to second. Grudzielanek goes up to get it, and this one's done. A perfect 9th authored by Jeff Shaw. A well-pitched affair indeed by both clubs. The Dodgers with 2 in the top of the 9th earn their 2nd consecutive victory in St. Louis. Complete game 2-hit shutout yesterday. Today, Chan-Ho Park strikes out 12 to set a new career high. And the Dodgers have built up some steam in the National League West.
Well, when you think about it, the Cardinals have only had 5 hits in 2 days. You're not going to win many games that way. The red-hot offense of the Cardinals had been stymied by the good pitching of the Dodgers.
Our Nissan play of the game tonight, well, we had a lot to choose from with all the strikeouts and with some timely offense. This was the game winner in the top of the 9th. Extra bases for Grudzielanek in the corner. It scored a couple of runs. That would be the game winner. The throw would get gobbled up in the stands. The Dodgers have won 2 in a row here in St. Louis. Jeff and I'll be back to wrap it up from Busch Stadium right after this. Busch Stadium in St. Louis when the starting pitchers combined for 20 strikeouts, including a new career-high 12 by Chan-Ho Park. The Dodgers with 2 in the top of the 9th, able to beat the Cardinals by a final of 3-1. And for St. Louis, perhaps, Jeff Torborg, little cause for concern. This club is 3-8 in May.
Well, starting last weekend when they had a big series against Cincinnati where they could have really blown their lead up in the division, they lost 2 out of 3. Now they've lost 8 out of their last 11 games, and they've only gotten 5 hits in the last 2 games here, last night and tonight. That doesn't bode well for a ball club that had really been living on its offense. They did get a beautifully pitched game out of their 20-year-old left-hander, Rick Ankiel, tonight. He was just outstanding. But Chan-Ho Park went pitch for pitch, strikeout for strikeout with him, and the Dodgers were able to pull this game out. On when we talk about this game being a game of inches, twice Mark Grudzielanek had a check swing called no swing. The next pitch or in that at bat, he got a big base hit. The second one being the double down the left field line that scored 2 runs. But there are times you worry about how your club's going. The Dodgers came in here with a 4-game losing streak, have won 2, and now the Cardinals are struggling. You'll have that during the season.
Once again, our final tonight, the Dodgers beat the Cardinals by a final score of 3-1. LA has made it 2 in a row over St. Louis. Darren Dreifort with a 2-hit complete game shutout last night. And tonight, pitching the story once again as Chan-Ho Park strikes out a career-high 12 and right to his 4th victory of the season. Again, the Dodgers beat the Cardinals tonight at Busch Stadium by a final of 3-1. Join us Thursday on Fox Sports Net when you'll see St. Louis at Philadelphia or Minnesota at Oakland. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. Next week, FX Baseball Saturday returns with the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Indians at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Coming up next here on FX, Married with Children. For Jeff Torborg, this is Matt Vasgersian thanking you for tuning us in from St. Louis. You've been watching Baseball Saturday Night on FX.